in a race car again and it'll scare you to death.
I've seen probably some of the most competitive races here that I've ever seen anywhere, simply because of the racetrack. You don't race any one person here. You basically race this racetrack, and you better stay on your toes. If you don't, it'll get up and smack you in the face.
The first time I came here, the first time I drove out of the pits onto the racetrack, I knew what everyone was talking about. I knew why they said it was the toughest track. The track's too tough to tame. It's so narrow, the racing surface. If somebody crowds you a little bit, there's no place to go. You're into the wall. That's what makes Darlington so hard.
In the 36 Southern 500s at Darlington, perhaps none was more exciting than last year. Cale Yarborough's power steering unit sends up a dangerous plume of smoke right in front of Bill Elliott. But Awesome Bill tamed the lady in black. He beat the odds, rewrote the Darlington record books, and took the checkered flag in front of thousands of cheering fans. The win earned Bill the Winston Million. No one can earn $1 million today, but 3 drivers can win $100,000 in the 37th Annual Southern 500. Motorsports coverage presents Auto Racing 86, setting the standards for the most extensive schedule in racing. Welcome you live to Darlington International Raceway. We're inside the number 4 Kodak sponsor car driven by Rick Wilson, and we're set to go in the 37th Annual Southern 500. The threat of rain is causing an early start of this race. The lineup on the front row will be Tim Richmond in the Folgers Coffee Chevrolet car number 25. Outside of the front row will be Jeff Bodine in the number 5 Levi Garrett Chevrolet. In the second row will be Neil Bonnet in the number 12 Budweiser Chevrolet, and Harry Gant driving the Skoal Bandit car number 33. Row number 3 has the number 88 Briscoe Oldsmobile driven by Buddy Baker. Alongside will be the Miller American Buick driven by Bobby Hillen Jr. In row number 4, it's Terry Labonte in the number 44 Piedmont Airlines Oldsmobile, alongside the Hardee's Ford number 28 driven by Cale Yarborough. In row number 5, the Copenhagen Oldsmobile number 55 driven by Benny Parsons. Starting alongside in row number 5, the Budweiser Chevrolet driven by Darrell Waltrip. The 6th row has Bobby Allison and Rick Wilson. In row number 7, it's Sterling Marlin and Bill Elliott. Row number 8, Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace. In the 9th row, Bill Parsons in 66 and Joe Ruttman in 26. Row number 10, Richard Petty in number 43 and Morgan Shepherd in 47. In the 11th row, it's Dale Earnhardt in number 3 and Jim Sauter in 75. The 12th row, Alan Kulwicki in car 35 and Kyle Petty in number 7. The 13th row, number 71 Dave Marcus and 98 Ron Bouchard. Row number 14, Mike Waltrip in number 23 and Eddie Bierschwald in number 17. In the 15th row, it's Chet Phillip in 81 and Donnie Allison in 54. The 16th row consists of D.K. Ulrich in number 6 and Ken Schrader in 90. Row number 17, it's J.D. McDuffie and Connie Saylor. The 18th row, H.B. Bailey and Jimmy Means. Row number 19, Buddy Arrington and Jonathan Edwards. And in row number 20, Mark Stahl and James Hilton. I'm Bob Jenkins in the booth, Jack Arute in the pit area, Jerry Punch and Dick Berggren as we get set for coverage of the 37th Annual Southern 500. The weather has not been kind to us all weekend here. Yesterday, We had the Grand National race, rather, postponed because of rain. It was raining hard at our hotel this morning, but when we got to the racetrack, it had not been raining, and it looked very, very promising. However, we have had a few sprinkles reported on pit road just in the last 10 minutes. We go inside once again, the Rick Wilson car, as he prepares for a start. We have been told that they'll go at least one more lap before we get the green.
And Bob, let's take a look at the other in-car camera. That'll be driven by Rusty Wallace in the Alucard special, number 27 from the Raymond Beetle stable. Now they're both mired back in the middle of this 42-car field with one lap to go before we green flag racing. Now, one thing to remember, starting back in 21st position is Dale Earnhardt. He had a problem during his qualifying attempt. They repaired the car, brought it back here at 7 o'clock the following day, but he had to qualify the second day, so he's going to have to carve his way to the front.
Quick comment before the start of the race from Dick Berggren.
Well, Bob, most everybody is working on a chassis setup and an engine combination that's untested. There was no practice yesterday. They had all counted on it. Even the pole sitter's got a chassis setup and an engine combination he hasn't tried. So when this green flag drops, nobody really knows what these cars are going to do when they go into the first corner.
The number 92 car, driven by Jonathan Edwards, has still not started, and there is some question as to whether he will be able to join the field for the start of this event. The light on top of the pace car is out, indicating that this time around we should get the green flag and begin the Southern 500. 367 laps of racing on this 1.366 mile oval. Here comes the field off of corner number 4. And the green flag is out. The Southern 500 underway from Darlington, South Carolina. We're glad you could be with us on this Sunday afternoon. It's a very narrow racetrack. Tim Richmond has grabbed the lead. Neil Bonnet second. Jeff Bodine is third, but Bodine moves alongside Neil Bonnet at the end of the backstretch, and Bodine puts himself in second place. Bodine second. Neil Bonnet is third. They come off of corner number 4 and complete lap number 1.
You get a good idea, Bob, of just the kind of respect that these drivers have for the lady in black or the track too tough to tame. Already with just one lap in the record books, they formed a single file snake all the way around the racetrack. They will pick and choose where they'll pass here.
Well, there has been so much rain in the past 48 hours that all of the rubber that had been laid down in practice and qualifying is gone. So it's a green racetrack they're racing on. Combine that with the fact that Darlington is so demanding anyway on a driver, and I think we're going to see some caution taken here in the opening lap. Just drivers settling back, seeing what their car is going to do, waiting for the track to come in.
Take, for instance, Tim Richmond. We alluded to the fact that they didn't have a last practice session, and Richmond's crew dropped a new engine in that car, and they are a little bit concerned because they didn't get a chance to shake it down even to just make sure that all the hose fittings were tight. But now it looks like Bodine, his teammate, is going to close up on the rear bumper.
And the car that is being lapped here in the early going is Jonathan Edwards in car number 92. So the Rick Hendrick team running first and second, just like they started. Tim Richmond, the pole sitter, is the leader. And Jeff Bodine, who started outside of row number 1, is running in second position right on the rear bumper of Tim Richmond. This will complete lap number 4 when they cross the stripe. Richmond and Bodine, followed by Neil Bonnet, then Harry Gant, then Buddy Baker, Terry Labonte, Bobby Hillen Jr., Cale Yarborough, Benny Parsons, Bobby Allison, Darrell Waltrip, and Sterling Marlin.
These front 2 cars have pulled away to about a 2-second separation over third place, and it looks to me like Tim Richmond just gets into turn 3 a tad better than Bodine. Bodine, however, seems to be able to close up as he exits turn 4.
Rusty Wallace running back in 17th position. There is the view from inside that Alucard Pontiac. And we have a crash. It's Richard Petty on the main straightaway. Petty bangs the wall right at the start-finish line, and the car comes to a halt. That's where we've seen most of the accidents in yesterday's Grand National race that was suspended just almost near the halfway point. And now Richard Petty tastes the concrete here at Darlington. The car just beyond the start-finish line. The yellow flag comes out.
And you can see Petty conversing with his crew chief, Dale Lindman, to let him know that he was okay. He's beginning to unhitch the seat belts and the shoulder harness, but he will sit inside that race car. Not that he's hurt or anything, but waiting for the rest of the field to go by and let the safety crew come to his assistance.
And a replay of the accident. Again, trouble erupting just out of corner number 4.
There you saw Petty on the high side. It looks like he just got crossed up and bang. Got eaten by the concrete right at the start-finish line. He keeps the wheels cocked, stays off the brake, and he just comes to rest.
Those dark spots there on the very inside of the racetrack are wet spots, but the groove itself, the area of the racetrack that they use for racing, is completely dry. There's no problem in that respect. Well, the STP Pontiac is started once again, and Richard Petty will limp to his pit area. Well, they will try to straighten out the body work and get Richard back into this event. The Southern 500 from Darlington, South Carolina. We'll be right back. Southern 500 is being brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. We are under yellow on lap number 7 here at Darlington because of an accident on the main straightaway involving Richard Petty. The leader of the race is Tim Richmond. Jeff Bodine second. Buddy Baker is third. The number 12 car of Neil Bonnet is fourth, and Harry Gann is fifth. And those specks on the windshield, we're afraid to report to you, is rain.
Bob, rain is the biggest factor here all weekend. It seems to have reared its ugly head, and it's so unusual because Labor Day here at Darlington, especially in the PD area of South Carolina, is usually filled with a lot of sunshine. Now, the guys that have a lot of work ahead of them are right there. Richard Petty's crew tried to bend away all that sheet metal, and there's a mechanic's nightmare, if there's ever been one.
The STP Pontiac with damage in the front end and at the rear end of the car, but they'll work here in the next few minutes and get all the body work away from the wheels, and undoubtedly Richard Petty will be able to get back into this competition.
You know, one of the things we talked about, what a difference a year makes. Last year at this race, we were looking at a historic possibility that came to full fruition at the end in Victory Lane when Bill Elliott captured the Winston Million and became the first driver in American history to ever win a $1 million bonus. Well, the $1 million isn't up for grabs today as we continue to see Tim Richmond leading the pack here under caution. But there are 3 drivers that do have a shot at $100,000, a consolation prize of sorts. The winner of the Daytona 500. Of course, that was Jeff Bodine, who was running in the second spot. Then, the winner of the Winston 500, Bobby Allison, and the winner of the World 600, of course, Dale Earnhardt. Should they be able to score a double, win here in the Southern 500, one of those 3 drivers, they'll receive a $100,000 bonus from the Winston people at R.J. Reynolds.
So the field is slowed under caution. Now, Tim Richmond, the leader of the race, is way out ahead of everybody else, including Jeff Bodine, who's running second. The pace car has pulled ahead of Tim Richmond on the racetrack, but I'm not real sure whether Tim just got out to a real big lead or whether Jeff Bodine is sort of holding up everybody else's proceedings.
Well, Bob, what Tim Richmond is doing is actually he's taking care of business the way he's supposed to. He's right behind the pace car, the safety car. So it's really Bodine, in my estimation, that hasn't caught up with the rest of the field yet.
We'll try to talk to Bobby Allison here on our in-car radio. Bobby Allison, this is Bob Jenkins up in the ESPN booth. Do you read us?
Yeah, Bob, I hear you.
Bobby, Richard Petty in a bit of a slide down the main straightaway into the wall here in the early going. Is the racetrack pretty green?
Well, the track's a little green, but unfortunately, Bob, it began to rain lightly at the end of the back straightaway and into turn 3. And the caution period, I think, has contributed to the wetness of the track over there. While I'm right here, I need to say hi to Mac Robinson, who's recuperating from a neck injury. He's a spiritual member of our team, but we'll get back to racing now.
All right, Bobby, we'll be talking with you throughout the race. Good luck to you. Yellow light still on top of the pace car. Jerry Punch, our other pit reporter for the activity here this afternoon. Here's Jerry with Richard Petty.
Richard has climbed out of the STP Pontiac. Richard, first of all, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
What happened out there? Anytime you get close to racing with Earnhardt, you're in trouble, and I wasn't smart enough to get out as well. Well, Richard Petty's STP Pontiac mangled. He climbs out of it, makes a short exit of the day's Southern 500.
We have a bit of an explanation as to what is going on the racetrack. Apparently, the drivers were given the signal that we would be going green, but there was a bit of an in-car protest from most of the drivers saying it isn't safe to go green. We're going to hold up the proceedings here and not get up to racing speed. So the rain is falling, or at least sprinkles, and causing us to remain under caution here at Darlington. So 11 laps have been completed. There are the top 5, and we'll be back with more right after this. Red flag has just come out, and the race will be halted because of the rain, and you can see it on the front windshield there of our in-car camera, and you can also see it falling. It's unbelievable, Jack. Yesterday, it seemed to rain just when we were beginning to do something, and it's doing the same thing today. It started to sprinkle just as the command to start engines was given. Now we've run 18, make that 13 laps, and the rain is beginning to fall hard enough to put an end to this event, at least temporarily. Let's try to talk to Benny Parsons.
Let's get his feelings about the red flag condition. Benny Parsons, nobody likes to see a red flag, least of all you, right?
You're ready emotionally, mechanically, the car is sound. We want to go racing, but right now, Jack, are just no way.
What are your concerns when you park your car down here under red flag conditions? Are there anything that you and the crew try to do to get it ready to come back to green flag racing later in the day?
The only concern we would have that once the engine is warm as it is right now, and we shut it off, that we may have a leak once it cools off. Some type of water leak, some type of gasoline. That would happen, then once we start the car back up, we'll not be able to continue.
Well, now listen, as soon as you get out of the car, go down there to the pits and pick up your RF gear, and you can go to work and talk to some of the other drivers, all right?
Hey, yeah, Pittsburgh will have my gear, right?
Good luck to you, Betty.
All right, the cars are proceeding down to the area of turn 1, and that's where they are being stopped behind the pace car. The red flag is out because of rain. We go down to Jerry Punch, who's with Larry McReynolds, the crew chief on the Joe Ruttman Quaker State Buick. Jerry?
There was a concern that possibly some fluid was leaking from the car. They brought a NASCAR official up to talk to you. What was the problem, Larry?
Well, we've changed motors since the last practice, and, you know, we hadn't been able to practice since all the rain, and I think we just had the water system just a little bit too full, and there's an overflow that goes out the back of the car, and I think it just spit out the little bit of excess water that we had in the system. But the first 3 laps has always seen water, and after that, everything looked good, and Joe says the water temperatures look good.
No oil coming out of the car at all?
It was white looking because we run a coolant in our water system, and that's the reason it looked like oil. We'll be okay.
Well, there's more than water coming out of the car. You can see on Larry's uniform here, the drops are falling, and we're under red flag conditions here at Darlington.
Jerry, exactly how hard is the rain? Is it more than just sprinkles at this moment?
Well, I'd say right now it is more than just a sprinkle. It's beginning to come down fairly steadily here in the pits. In fact, pit road's starting to get damp and show the darkening color from the moisture as most of the crews now are headed down with tarpaulins to cover the cars. It has turned into a rather brisk summer afternoon thunder shower.
Yeah, when we were outside our booth just before the race began, we noticed that it was getting much cooler and the wind was shifting, and we had the first indication at that time that rain could become a problem here, and indeed it has. The red flag is out, stopping the Southern 500 because of rain with 14 laps completed. Back with more in a moment. 500 is being rain delayed here at Darlington International Raceway. But, of course, we do have racing going on at Mid-Ohio IndyCar race. Let's go now to Larry Nuber, Pancho Carter, and Gary Lee, the broadcast crew at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for the Escort Radar Warning 200. Here on ESPN. We had hoped to bring you live coverage of the Southern 500 here at Darlington this afternoon, and we still hope we can do that, but for the moment, we are in a rain delay. It started to rain just as the cars were pulling onto the racetrack, and it began to rain hard enough to call out the red flag. So the drivers are out of their cars, and that gives us an opportunity to talk with some of them. Let's go to Dick Berggren, who's with pole sitter and the leader of this race, Tim Richmond.
And you better believe nobody wants to see this race restart right now than Tim Richmond. You are flying out there.
Well, the car is working real well. We made some changes prior to the start because of the weather and things. Now, we didn't know how it was going to react. We had a new engine in there that we've not tried, and we have made some chassis adjustments, and they, thanks to Harry Hyde, they were the right adjustments.
Now, certainly you get all psyched up for an event like this. There's a lot of tension right before the start of the green flag. But when you get a situation like this, Timmy, where you jump out of the car after having led, what does it do to your mental state?
Not really that much. It's a lot easier on your mental state to stop the race with the wet track and get out and be talking to you than it is to stay out there and it be marginal whether you should race on this surface or not, which sometimes we do have to race on a marginal surface, and it's not allowing the race car driver to go out and race and do his very best because, you know, we're not used to running on a wet track and we don't know how far to push it. Then if you push it too far, you crash and you're out of the race, and then, you know, you look like a dummy also. But you were the dummy for even starting on a wet marginal surface. So I'd much rather be here talking to you than trying to wonder whether I should race on that racetrack or not.
When the race does restart this afternoon, will this rain affect the way the cars run on it, Tim, or will you be pretty much the same way you are? Can we expect you to blast out in the lead again?
Well, yeah, I think that's the best place to be here on this racetrack. I don't want to abuse the car too much, but I would rather keep the lead all day long. That just cuts down the percentage and chances of somebody else in front of me losing an engine or getting in a crash with a lap car or something like that, and me having to maneuver through it. I'd rather have to cut my chances down like that. So being in the first slot would be the best position I can think of to be in to try to get through problems that could arise. So, you know, I'm going to try to stay out there, but I'm not going to abuse the car if I can.
Well, another fellow that wants to get up in the front position for sure is Dale Earnhardt, and he's with my colleague Jerry Punch.
Well, Dale Earnhardt has climbed out of the Goodwrench Wrangler Chevrolet. And Dale, first of all, we talked to Richard Petty a few minutes ago, and he said there might have been a little bumper tag out there. Tell us about what happened.
Well, I got on him in 3 and 4, and I got just about all the way by him. My car was pushing a little bit off the corner, and well, I think we rubbed a little. It felt like we did, and I looked in the mirror just as I cleared him, and he spun sideways. But, you know, I was pretty much all the way by him. It was just the right rear that he hit, or I hit him, every what. But you know, it's close down there, and but I'd passed him, passed him through the corner. I hate it happening because he's running real strong and everything, but it's just breaks of the game.
Dale, interesting story this week. Your car was nearly destroyed in a qualifying accident, and the guys back in the shop really worked awfully hard to put the thing back together. Tell us about the effort they put in.
Well, they do a super job. You know, the car was working real well in practice, and I went down there and overdrove it or something, lost it in the qualifying. Is totally my mistake, and tore the car up. So they took it back home that night and repaired the car, and it came back and the next day ran just as good as it did the first day, and I qualified real well. And we had to start 21st, but still the speed was good, and the car's working good right now. It's a little tight right now, but the guys do a super job with it. I get a few adjustments and pit stops here, and we'll get going.
Are you concerned about the track as far as the changing of the track with the rain now washing the rubber away and the car already being tight? Will that make the car a little bit tighter?
Well, it may. Right now, it's pretty much not knowing what's going to go on. The racetrack's going, if we get running again, the racetrack's going to get faster as the rubber gets laid down. So we're pretty much at wait and see what happens. We're not really excited about not working too good right now, but we'll get better as it goes. The racetrack comes to us.
Well, you're the Winston Cup point leader, and you got a chance to win $100,000 today. I know all that goes through your mind, but prominent in your thoughts has to be taking the win here in the Southern 500.
Well, it does. We got to work our way up to the front and get up front and race with the leaders and see what they've got and what we can do. And that's our main goal right now, is just get to the front and wait until the end of the race, try to win the race.
Let's go over to my colleague Dick Berggren standing by with Jeff Bodine.
Well, Jeff, your crew chief told us before this race started that you guys did get a chance to try your race setup. You're about the only team out here that did, and it looks good. Are you just cruising behind Timmy, or is there more stuff in that car?
I was just cruising. It was still raining while we were racing out there down the back straightaway, and the car feels good. We're just hoping it quits raining so we can get back out there and race.
What does this do to your mental state? The Southern 500 is such a big deal for so many racers, and I know you were pumped up in particular wanting to win this thing. You're looking for victories this year.
Well, the rain, that's part of our business. We have to live with it a lot of times, and We'll just wait here. We've got all afternoon. We'll wait till it dries up or quits raining, or, you know, maybe we'll have to come back tomorrow. And, but we'd like to get it done today. You know, it was raining on the back straightaway, and it was okay to race during the beginning, but NASCAR didn't realize how bad it got. They tried to restart the race. It wasn't really raining over here on the front side where most of the officials are, but we drivers knew it was raining over there. It was too slippery to start. We saw some bad accidents yesterday because of that same situation. No rain here, rain over there. So I chose to lay back on that restart and show NASCAR that I and the rest of the fellas behind me didn't want to start the race. And I thank God they didn't start the race, because it would have been a bad accident over there. They're trying to do their job, and they're trying to get the race in. We want to race. All us guys want to get this race over with, but it just wasn't safe. This track is so narrow. It's slippery when it's dry, so a little water onto it makes it real bad.
Well, hopefully the water is going to subside very shortly. This event has been going on for 37 years. It has never rained out. It's not raining any harder. We all hope it's going to get in this afternoon.
But the track is getting wet because the raindrops do continue to fall. We can definitely see a much darker racetrack now than a few minutes ago because of the rain. Back in just a moment at Darlington, South Carolina. Are the order of the day, at least for the moment, as the rain continues to fall on this racetrack. Even the drivers are under their umbrellas. That's Joe Ruttman taking shelter from the liquid sunshine that's beginning to fall. Joe, one of those involved in what we call the silly season. That is, trying to figure out who is going where next year as far as a car is concerned. Jack Arute has a closer look.
It's that time of the year on the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit when everybody begins to announce their changes from one team to the other. We call it the silly season, and what we've done today is, with a lot of research, have tried to put together who's doing what to whom and where they're going in 1987. Now, of course, you've heard about Darrell Waltrip, the three-time Winston Cup champion, on the verge of scoring his fourth. He's unhappy with Junior Johnson. He doesn't want to ride for Junior anymore. He says he's going to form a team with Rick Hendrick. And we know who his sponsor is going to be, don't we? All right, now, who's going to drive for Junior Johnson's team? Well, how about Terry Labonte? Get rid of him from Piedmont Airlines. Terry, good luck with Junior. Now, who's going to take care of the 44 car? Well, there's been some talk about the likes of all these drivers here. Ron Bouchard, Morgan Shepherd, Joe Ruttman, Red Barron, Kenny Schrader. Well, maybe Kenny's going to go up to the 44. We're not sure about that. Now, what about the 75 car? They haven't had a driver all year. And what about Neil Bonnet? You know, he's got Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, maybe Kentucky Fried Chicken's going to go here. Maybe Neil Bonnet's going to go there. And what about number 12? It's history. All right, the number 28 car. Cale Yarborough's already announced that he's going to be leaving the team in 1987 to form his own team. So, Cale's going to go, where else? But to number 47. Sorry about it, Morgan. You're not there anymore. Now, Cale says that he's got Hardee's as a sponsor. He says it's in the bag. Okay, Cale, you're in the bag. Now, oh, we've got Morgan Shepherd. Now, where's Morgan Shepherd going to go? Well, you've heard us all talk about Joe Ruttman. Joe Ruttman's history. This team, going to take Morgan Shepherd. Now, I'm stuck with Joe Ruttman. Where's Joe Ruttman going to go? Is he going to go to the 28? Is he maybe going to go over here to replace Kenny Schrader? I don't think so. I think Joe Ruttman is history. Now, what about Budweiser Beer? We said they're going to stay with Terry Labonte. We've taken care of this so we can clean up. Kentucky Fried Chicken we've taken care of. Piedmont Airlines, well, we could take a look. Nobody's sure yet. Is he going to be pizza or is he going to be airline? I think Kenny Schrader's going there. What about Ron Bouchard? Where's he going to go? Could he go to Red Baron, serve up pizza? Nobody knows. As you can see, it's pretty crazy. Some of it's true, some of it may not be. But one thing about rumors, you've got to believe them, at least until they come true.
Cale Yarborough will form his own team. He's bought the Jack Beebe team. Now, who is going to 28, Jack?
Well, they've let us know today that car number 28 next year will be driven by none other than Davey Allison. Allison will run for the Rookie of the Year title in 1987 at the wheel of the Harry Ranier J.T. Lundy-owned number 28. They have not announced who their sponsor will be. You know, I alluded to the fact that Hardee's will stay with Cale Yarborough, but they have announced today, in fact, with this announcement, that Davey Allison will wheel that car for Rookie of the Year. So Harry Ranier and J.T. Lundy, they intend to stay in business. They've hired Robert Yates. And another change as of today is that a youngster by the name of Joey Knuckles has now assumed the duties of race day crew chief. With the departure of Waddell Wilson, young Joey will take over those chores.
So that's a look at the silly season and a few of the combinations that could be coming together for the 1987 Winston Cup season. The rain continues to fall at Darlington International Raceway, interrupting the Southern 500 with 14 laps completed. Back in a moment. portion of the United States has been hit with one of the worst droughts in history. The farmers have needed rain badly, and they're getting it today. Unfortunately, it is not so good for racing. The Southern 500 here at Darlington, South Carolina has been stopped with 14 laps completed because of rain. Now, Richard Petty had been involved in an accident just before the race was stopped. What is the situation regarding Richard, and can he do some work now on that race car during this red?
Bob, under NASCAR rules, he's got to sit and stare at that dimpled STP Pontiac. He cannot do a bloody thing until they drop the yellow flag again. NASCAR rules prohibit crews from working on their cars under a red flag condition. And really, it's a good rule because you don't want to give a guy an advantage and be able to repair his car without having to lose some laps just because it's raining. So Petty, Dale Inman, the rest of the STP team, they've just got to sit there and look at that.
The track is getting wetter by the moment as the rain continues to fall. Well, we will be here for constant updates regarding the weather throughout the next few minutes. But for the moment now, we're going to take you back to last Saturday night at Bristol International Raceway, where the Winston Cup cars were in action in the Busch 500. We hope you enjoy this alternate programming while it rains here at Darlington. And we are about to restart the Southern 500. We have had about a 2-hour and 15-minute rain delay, during which it rained pretty hard. The track, though, is dry enough to at least put the cars out there. We may run a few laps under yellow here until the track dries completely, but we're just a few minutes away from high-speed competition. Now, here is the complete restart order. There are 39 cars still out there on the racetrack, and they're the top 5, led by Richmond, Bodine, Baker, Bonnet, and Gant. Now, the only car out of the race, Richard Petty, he was involved in a crash here on the main straightaway, damaged the car sufficiently to take him out of contention. They've already loaded the car onto the truck, and they've left the raceway. So 39 will restart the Southern 500. We're showing you the complete restart order right now.
Now, the guy that's really made the best move so far, Bob, is Dale Earnhardt. He started 21st, and there he is in 17th position.
And Ken Schrader has also shown some good advancement in the early going of this event. He has moved up to 27th position after starting 32nd. 14 laps have been completed. 367 make up this Southern 500. We haven't seen any evidence of rain now for about a half hour, and hopefully the rain is over for the day. As we look to the west, we see some layered clouds, so hopefully this thing can go its distance now.
Let's check in with Bobby Allison on the track conditions themselves. Bobby, this is Jack Arute and ESPN. How does the track look in that initial tour?
Well, it's pretty dry most of the way around. It looks like it's still a little wet up here in turn 4 where it stayed wet the longest yesterday.
Any concerns at all about the condition of pit road? That's got to be a little wetter than the racetrack itself.
Well, we've all talked about pit road. We know that it's going to be really bad if we have to stop. We're hoping that to get it dried up before we have to make our first round stop.
Now, what they will try to do, each crew has his own technique, Bob, on how to dry pit road. Some of them will use the oil dry to try and absorb the liquid. Other ones will actually try and use just a simple old broom to push it away. But nonetheless, as Bobby told you, they're all concerned about it, pit crews and drivers alike, and they'll use the caution that's necessary.
Benny Parsons, this is Bob Jenkins up in the booth. Are you ready to go racing? Benny, come back on that. Are you ready to go? Well, we're having radio trouble reaching Benny Parsons, but Benny will restart in 9th position. That's where he started this race. Let's check in on pit road with Dick Berggren.
Well, it's really not all that bad down here right now. Most of the crews have sped speedy dry, and the areas where the cars come to a halt is pretty well dried up in front of most of these teams' pit areas. The place that could potentially be a problem, at least, is the area close to the wall where they accelerate and decelerate as they're coming in and going out. That still has some puddles in it, but we haven't had any rain here for a while, and there's a little bit of air circulating. It's a warm afternoon, and with a little good fortune, some of that will dry up soon.
Now, there's a little bit of an advantage to the fact that we've only run, well, now 17 laps under caution. A presence on pit road is not going to be required for quite some time, so the drying process there can continue. And why they are running these cars around the racetrack at the present time behind the pace car are the exhaust headers run beneath the cars, and they're down less than maybe 2 inches from the pavement. As that heat begins to build, it'll dissipate the remaining fluid that's on the racetrack. You heard Tim Richmond talk to us about it, and this track will be nice and bone dry and ready to go racing shortly.
These laps are counting under yellow. 17 have been completed now, and the field is in turn number 4, about to complete lap number 18. We're inside Rick Wilson's Kodak machine, and there is Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt 3 car, and he has moved up nicely.
And he's got a lot to gamble today. We've talked about the fact that nobody has ever, in at least the last 27 years, started any further back from 10th with the exception of Bobby Allison and gone on to win. He's at the head of the points chase. He wants to stay out front of Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip's on one of his patented late-season charges. Earnhardt ran so good in the beginning of the season, and he likes the Darlington Raceway. He's also up for grabs for a $100,000 bonus this afternoon. So there's a lot of pressure on him, and it was added pressure the fact that they had to rebuild that race car after attempting qualifying on Thursday. But so far, he's done really well. He's moved up 4 spots.
Very badly damaged race car after a qualification attempt, but they rebuilt the car, and here it is. They're restarting this race in 17th position. Now we're inside Rusty Wallace's Aluguard Pontiac as he maneuvers through turns 1 and 2.
Rusty has already had a problem early on before the rain delay. He was forced onto pit road, and they changed 4 tires all the way around. Now, that's going to create a problem for Rusty in this respect. All of the advantage that he had before, it's gone by the boards. He's going to have to start this race just like it's brand new, like they're dropping the green flag for the first time.
As they come down, we complete lap number 19, and still no evidence of going green. The light atop the pace car will go out, and that will mean that the drivers will come around next time and receive the green flag.
Bob, take a look at this picture here from the back of Rusty Wallace's Pontiac. You can see a little bit of the distortion by that long, sweeping rear window. They are so long that they do distort the view going out the backside. So when a driver looks in his rearview mirror, that's precisely what he sees. And as you can see, he really can't tell all that well who it is behind him. So he can't go back to his black book and say, oh, that's Earnhardt, I've got to block him this way, I've got to give him room here. He's really got to just guess, and that was the view that we saw from back that window. There's Rick Wilson, the Kodak car. He'll be carrying our other in-car camera. And, you know, Rick's had kind of an up-and-down season, but since they landed that Kodak sponsorship, Larry McClure and company, as we get a view from the inside of his car, they've got a lot of high expectations for this team, not only for the rest of this year, but for 1987 as well.
Rick restarting 13. The racetrack appears to be drying very quickly now. We were a little worried about the front stretch, but since the cars have been out there, and as Jack told you, the exhaust headers, if nothing else, put a lot of heat down on the racetrack and dissipate the moisture, and the straightaway is looking very, very good. This is a 1.366-mile racetrack, and if you look at it from the air, you will discover that it is actually an egg-shaped track. The turns are banked at 22 degrees. The straightaway is 1,200 feet long, and the track is 80 feet wide, but there is only a very small portion of that 80 feet that is considered the groove. The rest is the apron to the inside. As you can see, the first race was held in 1950. It was repaved in 1981 and will be repaved after this race before the spring race, the Trans-South 500.
There's Tim Richmond and Jeff Bodine, your 1-2 punch thus far in the early going, and Hendrick Motorsports is definitely on a roll. Richmond, who's run so well since just near the end of the first half of the season and all through this second half of the Winston Cup season, he's done well except on the short tracks. And as Benny Parsons talked about it last week at our tour of Bristol, that may be the one suspect area for the Hendrick Motorsports Richmond team in their assault upon the championship belt that Darrell Waltrip holds right now, and has signaled his intention he wants to hold it again in 1986. We will only know at the end of the season who's going to capture that Winston Cup.
We continue to rack up laps under the yellow. 21 now completed. We anticipate green shortly. We'll be right back for that. Man holding up 2 fingers, 2 more laps, and green flag flag conditions will prevail here in the Southern 500 for the first time in about 2 hours and 30 minutes. And Rusty Wallace, carrying one of our in-car cameras, comes into the pits once again.
Let's see what they're going to do to Rusty Wallace's car. It looks like maybe they're just going to top off the gas tank. They're looking at the tires on the right side. One crew member was changing the windshield. That's indeed all they did, was add a little fuel.
Now, Rusty is on the lead lap. Only one car of the 39 restarting is not on the lead lap, and that is the number 92 machinist, Jonathan Edwards, who had trouble getting started initially back around the 1 o'clock hour and was lapped in the early going. 38 cars on the lead lap. Rusty Wallace pulling back out onto the racetrack.
Now take a look at how Rusty Wallace tries to get back in the line. He's made a pit stop so he can't go to the front, and it's a down finger restart, so he's relegated right to shotgun on the field at the tail end. But he's caught up with the tail end of the field, and now he wants to keep the revs up and get ready. Remember, you can get a good look at just how bumpy a ride you can get in one of these stiffly suspended cars as you tour this old lady in the black.
All right, there's Tim Richmond, followed by Jeff Bodine, Buddy Baker, and Neil Bonnet. Your first four positions. In fifth is Gant, sixth Labonte, seventh is Bobby Hillen Jr. They're on the backstretch and will go green when they come down and cross the start-finish line. And we will have completed 25 laps at that point.
Richmond gets to call the shots from here. He gets to see the flag first. He'll determine the speed as they come down to take the restart.
Pace car is pulling off of the racetrack. Here comes the field off the fourth corner. Looking for speed for the first time in a long time, it seems. There's the green flag, racing conditions. Once again, at the Southern 500, they go three abreast, coming down the main straightaway as some of the faster cars go low and pass the slower cars.
And one of them was Dale Earnhardt. He picked up 3 spots on that restart. A good move by Earnhardt.
Tim Richmond leads them down the backstretch once again, pulling out to about a 5 or 6 car length advantage on his teammate, Jeff Bodine. This is how they started the race, with Richmond in the pole position and Bodine to the outside. And here they are. Appears to be in good shape as the leaders are able to move up to some high speeds here. Jeff Bodine moves in on the leader.
The track is in excellent shape, and you can see it. It's indicative of the way Tim Richmond and Jeff Bodine are beginning to pull away. They're running right out on the ragged edge in that real high-speed groove. Bodine looks to the inside across the stripe, but he's not going to make a move at all.
It looks as if Jeff Bodine may want to lead. This is what happened on the restart.
Going to the inside of Bill Elliott. He loses it just a little bit. Earnhardt gets into Elliott. Elliott gathers it back in. They come across the stripe. That's part of racing at Darlington.
Nice job of driving by both Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhardt, saving their cars. It looked like they may have lost control and crashed, but both gathered it in. Now the Hendrick cars beginning to move away from the rest of the field as Buddy Baker runs in third position, but he is already about a half a straightaway behind the number 5 Levi Garrett Chevrolet, driven by Jeff Bodine. 29 laps completed this time around. Car once again. We're looking out the rear windshield, and it is Dale Earnhardt who is right behind Rick Wilson now, and Wilson is in 15th, so Earnhardt in 16th position and looking to move up.
There's a good look at Earnhardt's sandwich. He looks to the inside of Rick Wilson. He's going to try and make the pass. He comes up alongside, thinks a little bit better of it as they head into the corner, and backs off.
Rick Rick Wilson looking a little bit swirly there in the third turn as Morgan Shepherd is moving up nicely. He went to the inside of Joe Ruttman and picked up a spot. Now Earnhardt looking once again to the inside of Rick Wilson, but has to back off.
Typical sparring match, and you can see the hands being sawed back and forth by Dale Earnhardt. He's really working that car, trying to look for a slight advantage to get around, because he looks in his rearview mirror and he sees Morgan Shepherd, one tough customer himself.
Just some excellent pictures from that Kodak Oldsmobile. Now Earnhardt once again cannot get it done.
You have got to be careful where you pick your place to pass here at Darlington Raceway. You just can't stick your nose out at, let's say, like a place like Talladega or Michigan. You've got to just pick it, stab it, and go for it. That's why, as you see in the picture here, the cars seem to come up real close, then back off. Now Earnhardt goes to the inside. He's going to try it one more time, coming out of the corner.
He's going to do it this time, and Morgan Shepherd comes right behind him. A crash in turn 2 is Chet Phillips. Phillips hitting the wall in corner number 2 and scattering a lot of debris. Everybody scrambles to miss him. They do. Phillips' car still under power. He pulls it to the apron of the racetrack and gets headed in the right direction once again. But debris on the track will cause our first caution of the day.
And one would think that all of the leaders will come into the pits during this caution, be able to top off for fuel, get some input as to what the track conditions are now, and you can see the damage that's been done to Chet Phillips' circle bar truck corral car. It's pretty well dinged in the front, and they're pitting on the backstretch, so he had a very short trip to his pit area.
Chet was one of only 2 drivers that participated in the rookie program. Rookies are required to undergo a program, take some lessons from the more experienced drivers. Chet Phillip and Jonathan Edwards were the only 2 to participate in that. They are starting their first Darlington event here this afternoon. And Harry Gant heads into the pits in number 33.
Gant locks it up, trying to find his pits there, just sliding through. And there was a good indication of what Bobby Allison told us. Everybody was going to take it easy. Neil Bonnet also in, taking on right side tires. They've dropped the jack. Now let's see if they're going to go for 4 tires. Yes, they do. Now you see that move? The Jackman went around, got in position, and Tim Brewer, who's changing that front tire, waited for the Jackman to go around him before he went and attacked that front tire.
A couple of other cars on pit road as we watch Neil Bonnet pull out. Sterling Marlin and Joe Ruttman both on pit road with their hoods up. There is Harry Gant with his hood up.
And that does not look good for Harry Gant. You don't want to go beneath the hood this early in a race.
Gant had very high hopes of doing well in this race. He qualified 4th fastest, but it looks as if he has a problem with that car. We'll be right back in a moment to Darlington. Back at Darlington International Raceway, where the yellow remains out because of the crash involving Chet Phillip over in car number 2, turn number 2.
Well, so far, some unexpected, but some expected things. We saw the pole and outside pole sitter rumble to the front here. We've had the red flag delay, but it looks like, you know, Richmond and Bodine are still the class of the field, at least in the early going.
That is the indication, and also the indication is that we're going green once again this next time around.
There's a good look from inside Rusty Wallace's car as they start to come up through the gearbox, anticipating that restart all the way there in turns 1 and 2. Wallace at the tail end of the pack, and he's got to be not caught asleep because he's going to try and take some positions on this restart.
A couple of cars have gone behind the wall. Harry Gant and Joe Ruttman are both behind the wall because of mechanical problems, and the hood is up on the Sterling Marlin machine number 1 in the pit area.
Well, that's disappointing for the Bullseye crew. You know, they finished 4th at Talladega, and they had high hopes for here.
Here comes Richmond, leading him down once again for a green flag restart. Abreast on the main straightaway, but everybody filing into single file formation going into turn number 1. The narrow race groove here at Darlington necessitates that. Now they're on the backstretch, and still Tim Richmond in the number 25 Folgers Coffee Chevrolet, leading Jeff Bodine and Buddy Baker. Tim Richmond qualified for this race at 158.489 miles an hour, about a mile an hour faster than his teammate Jeff Bodine, who was second place. Running very slowly on the inside of the racetrack. He got a shot Bodine makes a bid for that lead as they go down into the backstretch and into turn number 3.
He took a look and then thought better of it. Really, there's no real reason to have to go out and battle right now for the front position. He's moved right to the rear bumper of Richmond, a good indication that he's just as fast as him. They pulled away just a little bit from Buddy Baker in third. So what Bodine will do is just move to the inside, take a look, see at what's ahead of him, and then stay right behind his teammate Tim.
Close they are, separated by just a few inches as they race down the backstretch once again. But Richmond holding on to that top spot here in the early going of the Southern 500, delayed by more than 2 hours and 15 minutes because of rain. But the weather doesn't look too bad right now. Skies are still overcast, but it has not rained now in about an hour.
And the track conditions are very conducive right now to some good, strong, high-speed racing. The dampness that was on the racetrack, most of it has disappeared. The majority of it now is down on the inside where you don't race anyway. Sure, it's 80 feet wide, but there's only about 35 feet that you use as a racing group here.
Let's go down to Dick Bergeron, who is with apparently an early retiree from the race here again.
Well, Bobby's hoping to not be a retiree. This was the distributor cap that was on the car. That side looked fine, but that's how Harrigan came in. This thing was broken directly in half. And they're working on the car right beside me now, trying to get the car back together again. There's about 7 mechanics with their hands underneath this hood, and Dan hopes to go back. Right now, Jerry Punch is up pit road, and he's with Joe Ruttman.
Well, Dick, we're in the garage area, and Joe Ruttman is the second car to retire. Joe, what puts you out?
Well, we have water running out the exhaust, which indicates that we probably got a cracked head. And, you know, obviously there's not much way to no way of repairing that kind of a problem.
Sorry to see you out of it. Let's go back upstairs.
Joe Ruttman's terrible luck continues on the Winston Cup Trail. He is the second car to drop out of competition in the Southern 500, the first being Richard Petty. On the racetrack with 41 laps completed, it's still a battle between Tim Richmond and Jeff Bodine.
I'll tell you, while we watch Tim Richmond and Jeff Bodine begin to pull away from your third-place runner, there is one whale of a battle going on behind him for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th position. Cale Yarbrough in 5th at the head of your picture. Directly behind him is Bobby Hillin Jr. Then, right in the back of that package, you see him there going beneath the sign is Bill Elliott. Elliott is on the move. He set his sights now on Darrell Waltrip. He has begun to show the muscle that $1 Million Bill exhibited last year in his run for the million.
5 cars running right together on the racetrack here. Bringing up the tail at the moment is Bill Elliott, but he has moved to 9th place after starting in 14th position. But the real battle and the best one is still up front. The teammates, Richmond and Bodine, going at it. At the moment, Bodine content, it appears, to remain in 2nd position, letting his teammate Richmond set the pace.
When you look at the nature of these two drivers, that's exactly the way they should run. Richmond is the flamboyant one that likes to get out front and lead. Bodine a little more calculating. He'd rather just save maybe a couple of cars in his hand till later. Again, he shows just to the inside. He feints that move, but you never really see him load the cannon and try and go after it. He just sneaks a peek to the inside and then goes back behind that Bolton car.
By the way, Dale Earnhardt has moved up to 12th position now from his 21st place start. Richmond and Bodine. Now Bodine once again sneaking right up on the back bumper of that number 25 car. They come down the straightaway. A slower car there to the inside is Jonathan Edwards, the number 92, but they get by him safely.
Now, from the looks of things, the way Tim Richmond is running, as he's here now in turns 1 and 2, but when he gets over to turn 3, it looks like possibly he has just a slight handling problem. Nothing to be real concerned about, but he'll point the nose downstairs. He'll try and get as low as possible there, and then the nose starts to run right up high up against the wall. That is usually indicative of a push with the race car. Bodine, on the other hand, seems a little more content and able to keep the car pointed down low.
Each time down the main straightaway, Jeff Bodine moves his car to the left and takes a look, but has not made a real indication that he wants to pass. Now watch the line they take going into turn number 3. Tim Richmond will move right down to that low stripe, and then the car swings high.
Well, now he used a little lap traffic there with Buddy Arrington, so you really didn't get a good look at what they call giving a car its head, letting it go to the wall, just not trying to bind it up. But that's the technique that Richmond's using now. And here's the Bill Elliott, Darrell Waltrip, and Bobby Allison battle for 7th position. Allison's in 7th, Waltrip is in 8th, and Elliott is in 9th position. And downstairs in pit road with a story from the Elliott pit is Jerry Punch.
We're standing with older brother Dan Elliott, and Dan, Bill's starting to make his move. The car must feel pretty good to him.
Well, Bill's starting to make his move. He said the car was just really comfortable, and the engine was running good, which we didn't have any practice on it after we changed after qualifying. And he said he really liked the setup, so he said it was comfortable, and we're just going to ride.
You know, there was a big question mark in that engine. He said they haven't run it a single lap with a brand new engine. They were concerned about how strong the engine might be.
Yeah, it's really good if you get some practice time on the engine. If you have any oil leaks or any problems with it. We didn't have a chance to do that, and we just had to start cold turkey. So we're pretty happy right now.
Well, they're awfully confident here in the Elliott pit.
Well, Elliott's awfully confident right now, Bob. He's watching a heck of a battle between Bobby Allison and Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip's downstairs. He's looking for that 7th position.
And Waltrip falling in behind Bobby Allison here, choosing not to pass at the moment. Benny Parsons has fallen back now to 10th position, and there is Dale Earnhardt in 11th. So 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 here running nose to tail on the racetrack. A couple of cars have come back out onto the racetrack as Waltrip makes a bid to the inside of Allison, but can't pick up the spot. Both Harry Gant and Chet Phillip have come back out onto the racetrack. And there is Dale Earnhardt continuing to pick him off. He goes to the inside and passes Benny Parsons in turn 4.
Now compare this sparring for that 7th position between Allison and Waltrip to that we saw just moments ago between Richmond and Bodine. Bodine made a move to the inside. Waltrip wants the position held by Bobby Allison. Watch as he takes a look to the inside. He tries to get his quarter panel up to the doorpost of Bobby Allison. That's a signal that, hey, the spot is mine. He didn't do it that time, but every other lap he's made that attempt, at least going into turn 3.
There you can see 50 laps completed in our 28-58 update with the latest baseball scores. Of course, there was an IndyCar race this afternoon at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We'll have delayed same-day coverage of that at 8 o'clock tonight. There was an accident late in the race, what appeared to be a very serious accident involving Jose Legarza. Larry Newber will update us on that situation in just a few moments.
There, Allison held off Darrell Waltrip one more time going into 3. Waltrip tries to set him up coming out of 4. He's looking for that spot, and you've got to pick your spot to make the pass. Not able to do it that time.
Let's go down to Jerry Punch in the pit area once again, who's with Richard Children.
Well, he's the car owner for Dale Earnhardt. Richard, are you concerned about how hard Dale's having to run the car early in the race?
No, we just going to lose a whole lot of track position. We want to try to get back to fair order race to the leaders, but he's being careful right now.
How is the track overall? Is the track tried pretty well? It seems to be pretty tight with the car?
Yeah, we were a little tight. We're still a little bit tight. We're going to have to work with our tires on the next pit stop.
How about fuel mileage? Everything going as you planned?
Well, it's hard to tell until we pit. We didn't get a chance to run this engine in practice, so we don't know.
That's the story here in the Wrangler pit.
Side by side into turn 1. Door handle to door handle racing, and Darrell Waltrip picks up the spot, forcing Bobby Allison high, and here comes Bill Elliott right behind, and Dale Earnhardt is going to try to follow also before they get to turn 3. He can't get the job done, though, as the door is slammed by Bobby Allison. Now Earnhardt to the inside of Allison, and he picks up the spot.
That's how quick you can go from 7th to 10th here at Darlington. A good move by Waltrip. Benefiting from it was Elliott and Earnhardt. They did their homework as well.
So now in 7th position is Darrell Waltrip, 8th is Allison, 9th is Earnhardt, and 10th, Bobby Allison. Benny Parsons running right behind Allison. 55 laps have been completed, and the reason that we are only 55 laps into this race is because of a rain delay that we had. It started to rain just after the cars began this 367 lap event. It rained hard. They red flagged it, but we went back to racing, and now we are proceeding. We have a car smoking very badly and a crash to the inside. There is the top of the car. We still can't get an indication of who it is, but the car did slide off of the racetrack and probably came into contact with that wall separating the track from the pit area.
How quick things can change here. Just that quickly coming hurtling out of turn 2. It looks like it would be Eddie Bierschwale's car, number 17, and that is a tough break for Bierschwale. But look at the windshield. It's popped right out of its position.
And they race back to the line. Here's the yellow flag displayed. Tim Richmond will maintain the lead, and a couple of cars trying to get their laps back there, but did not. That was the number 64 machine driven by Connie Saylor, who tried to get ahead of Richmond, but was unable to do so before the cars crossed the line.
Now, if the leaders should pit, let's watch and see what type of adjustments they make on their cars. We talked about the fact that from our perspective, it looked as if maybe Richmond was a tad tight going into this race. Let's see if one of his crew members, if he does bring the car onto pit road, and he will, let's see if they make any sort of chassis adjustment. Look for either the front tire changer to go beneath before he pulls the wheel and puts the other one on to make an adjustment, or going in the back of the area, diving into the inside, the cockpit, to make an adjustment on what they call the 4 stacking bolts.
Let's go down to our pit reporters who are going to be able to call these pit stops by the leader.
Tim Richmond brings the Folgers Chevrolet down to the leader, and Harry Hyde and the crew will go to work under caution. They should change 4 tires. They're cleaning the windshield with that big sponge to give Richmond something cold to drink. They have the car on the jacks on the right side. And the car number 5 also in the pits. That's Jeff Bodine. As you see, both cars now in the pits. They will go to the left side for Tim Richmond's left side tire change. The Folgers crew now getting all 4 tires, fresh rubber on the Chevrolet that's been leading since the green flags dropped. They have the car down off the jack. Pretty good pit stop, about 28.5 seconds for Tim Richmond.
And a great credit to all these drivers, because that pit road is still very slick. In fact, there are still puddles, but everybody came in and didn't have a single problem.
And also, you notice that they didn't make any adjustments on the car, so the way they've solved their slight problem with what we call tire stagger. They've changed it just a little bit, and hopefully that'll make the car run that much better.
Richmond back out on the racetrack. Benny Parsons was the leader, but now he will come in and relinquish the lead. And so the standings are changing here as we're having our first series of pit stops in the Southern 500. 59 laps have been completed. 367 will make up this race. There was some damage showing there on the Benny Parsons car. Obviously, he's had contact with someone out there. From inside the Kodak machine, driven by Rick Wilson, we'll take this break and be back with more of the Southern 500. We are back to racing at Darlington, and what a race we've got going. Tim Richmond and Neil Bonnet are going at it tooth and nail. As a matter of fact, Bonnet...
And now Bodine tries the inside of Bonnet for that second position into 3.
Some great racing going on here now. Earnhardt looks to the inside of Bodine, trying to take away that 3rd spot, and he does. Dale Earnhardt moves to 3rd. Now Jeff Bodine has Terry Labonte to contend with. Labonte in that number 44 Piedmont Oldsmobile moving to the inside to crash on the main straightaway. Mike Waltrip and Bill Parsons are involved, and there may be others. Oh! Rick Wilson just missed, and so did Benny Parsons. Boy, that was close.
Boy, closer than anybody would ever want to admit to. We talked about this track being 80 feet wide as we look at Phil Parsons get back into the gearbox and pull away from the scene of the altercation, as they would say. But once things start to break loose here out of the racing groove, everybody darts and dives, but you just don't have a lot of room. Now, there's another car that was involved, Jim Sauter, pitting on the backstretch. He shows cosmetic damage to the outside, and Parsons is making his way around for service with his crew.
Boy, it was just inches that this car and this man right here, Rick Wilson, missed Bill Parsons, who was in the middle of the straightaway. Let's take a look at it again. It happened coming off of corner number 4. Parsons and Waltrip sideways here.
Now, the racetrack is blocked. The groove. Look at all the cars going to the inside, up against the retaining barrier. That yellow car is... Wow, that was too close. Rick Wilson just threaded the needle. Just a slight twitch of the wheel, and he got by.
And Benny Parsons also went right through the middle of everything and avoided it. And here is how it looked from Rusty Wallace's car as he scrambled to avoid.
Now, try and imagine you're going to get through all this. Thread the needle. It's still about 100 miles an hour. You go by Phil Parsons, you take a look real quick as to what's happening, you try to gather it back in, and you just go, phew.
He missed it, and so did Rick Wilson. But now the track is littered with debris, and the track crew will have to come out and pick up the pieces of sheet metal and fiberglass that were torn from those race cars. We're under yellow once again with 67 laps completed.
And boy, the way Tim Richmond was battling with Neil Bonnet there, Bob, one would have thought that maybe it was for the last 5 or 6 laps. Bonnet, as we said, had some real quick pit work, and he got out towards the head of the field. He took that lead on the drop of the green flag, and Tim Richmond just said, I'm going to have none of that, and just grabbed it right back away from Bonnet.
A couple of cars in the pit area. Bobby Allison has come in for a pit stop. Rick Wilson also stops, and now here comes Phil Parsons in.
There's a look as they've completed the service on the Kodak car. Now, he made it through all right, but you can see the tape. It was on the windshield there. He's got a cracked windshield. He had that before the accident, of course.
We understand that Jim Sauter may have had contact with the wall up in turn number 4 to cause that accident here on the main straightaway. We'll be right back. The race is back under green at Darlington, and Tim Richmond has the advantage once again, followed by Neil Bonnet and Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine as they file into turn number 2 once again.
Now, there is a Quinella right there. You've got Richmond on the point, flanked by Bonnet. Now Bodine looks to the inside of Earnhardt. He gets the spot and takes over third. But look at Earnhardt. Says, nothing doing, fella. I'm going to the inside. Downstairs in 3 and 4.
Battle for third here. Earnhardt gets it back. Bodine back to 4th position.
From the looks of that move, Bob, one would have to say that Earnhardt is really not using all that he's got in that race car. Just the way he took that spot back. It's almost as if he's going to let the race come to him.
Now, knowing the weather that has prevailed over this area all weekend, do you go for the halfway point, Jack, or do you go for the full distance?
I think they've said it so many times. You've got to, at least at this point in the race, go like it's going to be for the full distance. Now, you're going to run just as hard as you can here at Darlington as compared to, let's say, a Talladega or a place like that, because this track is so treacherous. Drivers will tell you, you don't race the competition, you race the track itself. So whether it's 200 miles, 400 miles, or 500 miles, it doesn't matter. Every lap, you've got to race at 110%.
Tim Richmond pulling away from the rest of the field. You can see the interval there between first and second, as Richmond has opened up about a half a straightaway advantage on second, third, fourth, and fifth. They running right together. Second, Bonnet. Earnhardt making a bid for second. He gets it at the end of the straightaway.
Like I said, Earnhardt wants to wait for the race to come to him. He looked in his front windshield and he saw that Richmond was beginning to pull away. So he just reached down and beneath the hood of that car and said, give me a little bit, let me take over second so I can at least keep the leader in sight. He doesn't want to let Richmond get too far ahead of him.
A phenomenal march toward the front of the field by Dale Earnhardt, who was relegated to a second-day qualifier. He was the fastest, of course, on second-day qualifications. Started this race 21st, and now has moved all the way up to number 2. Had he been able to qualify on the first day, his speed was good enough for 5th starting position. Third, fourth, and fifth here. Bonnet and Bodine going at it.
Bodine picked his spot going into turn 3. He goes downstairs. Boy, Bonnet Oh, that was close. It looked to me like maybe Bonnet didn't see him and pinched him just a little bit downstairs. But Bodine gathered it back in, and the other guy that did a whale of a job was Terry Labonte. He gave Bodine the room to recover.
Just a terrific job of driving by Jeff Bodine, whose car was almost completely sideways, and he saved it to hang on to that third position.
Not done intentionally. Neil Bonnet just looked down, and he just saw him, and he had to back out of it, but that's the close quarters racing that we've got here at Darlington. A great job by Bodine, Bonnet, and as I said, Terry Labonte.
He hung on to fourth position in that move. And
here's
we'll take a look at it.
Here's what I'm talking about. Bodine's downstairs, Bonnet taking his customary line, going to point the nose down into where the groove is, but Bodine is there. Bodine has to go almost down onto the apron. He loses traction, and he gathers it back up. Now, see, Labonte was back out of the throttle. Gave Bodine all the room that he needed.
It was a situation similar to one in Bristol last weekend. You saw it on our replay of that race a little bit earlier when Ricky Rudd last weekend was right behind Harry Gant when Gant got sideways, and Ricky backed off the accelerator to make sure that he didn't spin.
Boy, all that action is tightened up now for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th position. Bodine running up there in that third spot. In 4th position now is Bonnet. 5th goes to Labonte, and Darrell Waltrip has moved to 6th spot. Bodine's beginning to pull away, but the battle is for the position number 4, held by Neil Bonnet.
Bonnet in 4th, followed by Terry Labonte, and then Darrell Waltrip. Following Waltrip on the racetrack is Bobby Hillin Jr., Cale Yarborough, Buddy Baker, who was 3rd when we restarted this after our rain delay. In 10th position is Ricky Rudd. 11th is Bill Elliott. And the number 27 car of Rusty Wallace has moved back up to 12th position.
And Tim Richmond is still maintaining a sizable lead over Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt is closing, but ever so slightly. The action is right here, what you're seeing. Labonte goes downstairs and takes the spot from Bonnet. It looks like Bonnet may have a little bit of a problem.
Well, Terry made that move very, very nicely and with authority as he moved to the low side to make the pass and then moved high on the racetrack to pass the back marker. So obviously that Piedmont Airlines Oldsmobile is working fine. Chet Phillips is being lapped on the racetrack. He's been into the wall earlier in the race. Now we're going to watch the teammates go at it here as Neil Bonnet and Darrell Waltrip meet on the racetrack. And Bobby Hillin Jr. is also right there in number 8.
As you watch Neil Bonnet go through the corners here, Darrell Waltrip hurtling directly behind him, it looks as if there is a little erratic movement on the part of car number 12. That would be indicative of a handling problem. Let's see if we can notice it here in turns 1 and 2. Bonnet tries to maintain the line, and it looks like there may be just a little wiggle to the nose. Could be that that car's a tad loose.
Junior Johnson machines running in 5th and 6th position. Neither of these drivers will be with Junior next year. Neil will be going to the Raymock operation, and of course Darrell Waltrip with the Rick Hendrick organization.
And look who's lurking in the back there. Cale Yarborough, just waiting. A 5-time winner of the Southern 500. He likes this race. I think the irony is he's never won the Trans-South 500, but he knows how to get it done on Labor Day weekend.
81 laps have been completed now. On the racetrack, the leader is Tim Richmond, and he is just dominating this race at the moment. Crossing the line right now in 2nd position, the yellow car driven by Dale Earnhardt. And then back to 3rd position is Jeff Bodine, followed by Terry Labonte in 4th, and Neil Bonnet in 5th position. So at the moment, Tim Richmond is controlling the Southern 500 at Darlington International Raceway. Back with more in just a moment. We are back at the Southern 500. Tim Richmond, Dale Earnhardt, and Jeff Bodine are your top 3 with 85 laps completed. There's the leader, Tim Richmond. And he has about a 3-second lead now on 2nd place, Dale Earnhardt.
Richmond is being very cautious as he works the race traffic because he knows there's plenty of it, and he knows that while he negotiates it, so does Dale Earnhardt. So he's not really going to lose much of his leading advantage, and he can afford, at least at this point in time, to be extra cautious.
Well, the good news is that Tim Richmond is leading and everything is going well with 87 laps completed. The bad news is it's raining and we have a car in the wall. That's number 70, J.D. McDuffie. Just a slight bump.
He just kissed it. The Winkle Pontiac goes down onto the infield apron. It looks like he might have missed his pit there on the back straightaway. But so far, no yellow has been displayed because he's out of harm's way.
He's out of harm's way. The car is still moving, at least at the moment, although it is now coming to a halt. But he's well off the racetrack and out of everybody's way, so we could very easily not have a yellow flag. Now it is displayed. The yellow comes out, and it'll be a race back to the line. As we were saying just before J.D. did kiss the wall, as we watched the battle back to the line, here comes Tim Richmond. He crosses the line. Dale Earnhardt about to right now. It is raining once again over Darlington International Raceway. Not a heavy rain, but drops are beginning to show in the puddles once again, and drops are beginning to show on the windshield of Rick Wilson in the Kodak car.
Now remember what Tim Richmond told you, though. That raindrops, now while that may obscure your visibility, because of the heat that's been built up on the racetrack, until it rains a little heavier, the racetrack is fine. It's been dried in fine fashion, and with all the heat from the tires and these cars, it dissipates as quick as it hits the pavement. Unfortunately, it doesn't do the same on the windshield.
We anticipate some more pit stops in just a moment as the field will come around. Here comes Tim Richmond. Here comes Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Bodine, and others into the pit area. Let's go down to Dick Berggren.
And the pits are going to be a very busy place for sure. All of the leaders are into the pit area right now. This will almost certainly be a four-tire change for everyone. Richmond is gesturing wildly inside the car to his crew. He is obviously upset about something. It is raining down here on pit road. In fact, it's raining more by far than we'd like to see at this particular juncture. If it keeps up this hard, we may eventually have a problem on the speedway. Four tire changes going on up and down pit road. Everybody taking on a full load of fuel. And the first car out is the 47. That's Morgan Shepherd. There goes Cale Yarborough. There goes Richmond. Oh, Earnhardt and Richmond almost collide on pit road. Earnhardt, however, gets out in front of Tim Richmond.
That was close, but Earnhardt won the battle. Bill Elliott has a problem, and Terry Labonte's car also with a problem down here right in front of us.
It looks like the car fell off the jack, or the wheel fell off after they'd affixed it, because Labonte had begun to pull away from his pit, and the car, just the whole left side, the left front, just fell down to the ground.
So most everybody moving out of the pit area now. Now they have Labonte's car down off the jack and moving. Bill Elliott also is back out onto the racetrack. So we are under our fifth caution period in 90 laps of the Southern 500. Back in a moment. Another pit stop. The car apparently fell off the jacks last time by. Dick Berggren can explain that for us, Dick.
Well, they definitely had a problem here. And Steve Meal, the crew chief, was knocked over. He was in the back of his shirt and his pants are all skinned up. He's wet. He's okay. In fact, he's the guy that's doing the work on this left front. And they did have some damage here on the left front of the automobile. But it doesn't appear to be anything major. They're putting another left front tire on the car. They beat the damage out. And Labonte is back on his way to the speedway.
Unfortunately, though, he has lost the lap. So a tough break for Labonte, who was running up there in the top 10 and in sixth to make that fourth position when the incident occurred.
And it was just a scant few feet that cost him the lap. If they'd been able to reaffix that tire in maybe 4 or 5 seconds earlier than they did, Bob, the stop sign was still green, saying he could have gone out. But the leaders had come across the stripe, and they had said, got to hold everybody in the pit. And Labonte lost one full lap.
There you can see our 28:58 update. The American League baseball scores. We'll have golf later this afternoon here on ESPN. Later tonight, we will have the Escort Radar Warning 200 IndyCar race from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And wherever we are in our broadcast schedule, we will have the finish of this race live here on ESPN.
Kind of a fitting departure for Jack Beebe. Morgan Shepherd, who won in Atlanta earlier this year in April, surprised so many people with that privateer entry. He's now leading the famed Southern 500. Boy, Beebe would like nothing better than to go out as a car owner winning the oldest race in NASCAR.
Second on the serial score is Jeff Bodine. Then Cale Yarborough now third. Dale Earnhardt is fourth. Tim Richmond back to fifth. Sixth position is Bobby Hillin Jr. Seventh is Neil Bonnet. Eighth, Darrell Waltrip. Ninth, Ricky Rudd. 10th is Buddy Baker. 11th, Bill Elliott. 12th is Rick Wilson. In 13th position, Dave Marcus. 14th is Benny Parsons. 15th, Bobby Allison. 16th is the number 7 car of Kyle Petty. Then we have Ron Bouchard, followed by Morgan Shepherd and Rusty Wallace.
Well, they've been given the signal. One lap and we'll be back to green flag racing. And Shepherd will really have his hands full, Bob, because directly behind him is Bodine, then Yarborough, and then Dale Earnhardt. And Earnhardt has really turned the heat up. But as I said before, I don't think sufficiently that he's wasting his race car in any way.
By the way, that is Jim Sauter that is running in 18th position. Morgan Shepherd is the leader of the race, and he'll bring him to the green flag as we restart the Southern 500. There is a shot from Rusty Wallace's car as he moves that Pontiac down the backstretch. They are getting into the two abreast restart formation. Rusty is suffering with a shock absorber problem. That's what's keeping him off the very fast pace, although he is still on the lead lap and is still running in the 19th position. Here they come down for the restart. The green out once again, and 4 abreast this time down the straightaway.
And the jockeying for positions on the inside is mostly lap traffic. They're looking for a spot because they're racing with those guys, even though they may be 2-3 laps down to the leaders. But up front, the battle is enjoined. Bodine goes downstairs, down the backstretch.
Jeff Bodine going to the inside of Morgan Shepherd and taking over the lead. Cale Yarborough is there in the white and orange number 28 car in third position.
Boy, don't you think Cale Yarborough's got mixed emotions right now? That number 47 car, he's about to purchase it. So he's going to be extra careful when he goes around that one because soon it's going to be his piece of machinery.
Cale is tucked right on the back bumper of that Morgan Shepherd machine, the number 47 car owned now by Jack Beebe. But it'll soon become the Cale Yarborough racing operation. Cale, a 5-time winner of the Southern 500 and a 5-time winner here at Darlington.
First race that Cale Yarborough ever saw was at the knee of his dad, and it was the famed Southern 500. And Cale said, from that day forward, I knew I wanted to be a race car driver. He was thrown out of the Southern 500 about 4 different times because he tried to race underage all in one day.
His first race here at Darlington was back in 1957. Now we go back and pick up on this battle involving Tim Richmond, Dale Earnhardt, and Neil Bonnet.
Richmond's in 4th. In 5th is Earnhardt. Bonnet is in 6th. And they're beginning to duke it out here as they go into turn 3. Earnhardt looks at Tim Richmond's rear deck lid. Stays glued right there. And look at how quick Bonnet can close up the advantage. But he seems to be lacking just a little something. Not enough to stay just as tight as Earnhardt does to Richmond.
Running in this group of cars behind Neil Bonnet and Bobby Hillin is Darrell Waltrip. Now, we showed you part of the Busch 500 from Bristol International Speedway while we were in our rain delay. For those of you who do not know, Darrell Waltrip did go on to win that race at Bristol, followed by Terry Labonte, Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, and Harry Gant. Those were the first 5 finishers of the Busch 500 last Saturday night at Bristol International Raceway.
And Dale Earnhardt knows that Darrell Waltrip scored that victory. Earnhardt is in the head of the points list, and he is being followed by Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip's done it before in 81, 82, and in 1985. He scored a Winston Cup championship after being down as many as 200 points going into this race. So Earnhardt, he feels the heat. He hears the footsteps from one Darrell Waltrip.
Waltrip is only 121 points behind Dale Earnhardt as we enter this 21st race of the 1986 Winston Cup season. It's going down to the final race undoubtedly again for the Winston Cup title. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, Piedmont Airline Oldsmobile is in the pits, and Terry Labonte continues to have problems. From the last pit stop, they did not get all the lug nuts in the tires, and you heard Dick Berger talk about the problem they had. They also tagged one of their crew members, Steve Meal. He's kneeling down before that left front tire, trying to work on the car. Now they have another problem. They have lost the brakes. Apparently, when they dropped the car off the jack, they must have cut a brake line in the car. They have no brakes on it to get the car slowed. They're going to try to make make some repairs and get him back out, but it could be a long afternoon for the Piedmont crew and Terry Labonte.
Tough break for Terry Labonte. Labonte will be moving over to Darrell Waltrip Jr. Johnson prepared entry next year, but he wanted to win for Billy Hagan, and now the lessee of the team, Wayne King, who's taken over the day-to-day operation, and Steve Meal, one of the best crew chiefs in the business. And boy, he was lucky that he didn't get injured when that car fell off the jack, Bob.
Still up on the jacks right now. They're conversing with Terry. And now the car is down, and Terry Labonte moves away from the pit area and rejoins the race. Terry was the winner earlier this year at Rockingham and has had about 3 second-place finishes. He just can't get the car to run. I thought he was going to pull behind the wall there for a moment.
Indeed, that's what he wanted to do, is he wanted to go behind the wall, but the wall was blocked by the pace car. So what they're going to do is he's going to take one quick circuit around. Steve Meal and the crew got set out back behind the wall, and they're going to make major repairs to the brakes.
There you can see Terry was the winner of the 1980 Southern 500. Labonte, the Corpus Christi, Texas driver, now living in Archdale, North Carolina, may be pulling behind the wall. The car on the move is Rusty Wallace, number 27.
Now remember, we've got a report that Rusty Wallace is having some sort of a shock absorber problem. And you can see it in this in-car. See the bounce? See, that's not the way it should be. This track is not that bumpy. The car is not traveling properly on its shock. So the race setup has just gone totally out the window. And what Rusty Wallace is faced with is wrestling a grizzly bear for the next 500 miles.
It's amazing that he's been able to put himself in the 19th position with the... is concerned.
Bouchard is riderless right now. He does not have a drive. The word is that he will be departing the Mike Curb organization. A lot of talk that Dale Jarrett will drive that car. Jarrett made a campaign with it at Bristol 1 week ago. Where Bouchard goes, no one knows right now.
And Jeff Bodine has just opened up a tremendous lead on the rest of the field. He passed Morgan Shepherd when the green came out on the most recent restart, and now has almost a 4-second lead on Shepherd, who continues to run in second position. Tim Richmond is third, then Earnhardt, then Neil Bonnet, Cale Yarborough, and Bobby Dillon Jr. There's Bodine crossing the stripe and completing 106 laps. The halfway point is 184. If they run 185 laps, and if we should have, heaven forbid, another rain shower, they could stop the race and it would be declared an official race. But we're hopeful that we can get the entire 367 laps in, complete this Southern 500.
Remember one thing, there's only about 142 miles completed in this 500-mile contest, and right now the key, the battle plan for all these drivers is not to go a lap down. There's no need to really use up your equipment. And from the looks of things and looking at Bodine as he works his race car, as we've seen Tim Richmond, Dale Earnhardt, all of them are driving a very heady race. None of them are pressing at 150%. They're not getting everything out of the car. But Jerry Punch right now is with someone from Terry Labonte's crew.
With Steve Meal, the crew chief, and Steve, you've had a ration of problems, but what really is the problem with the car?
Well, we messed up a pit stop, and the car got let off the jack with the left front wheel nut on it, and Terry come back in and we fixed it, but I told him it may have hurt a brake caliper, so when he went out, he had a vibration. He thought he busted a brake rotor or might have broke a caliper or something. Actually, he had equalized the left rear tire, so we fixed that, and the car's all right, but we're a bunch of laps down.
You got hit by the car when it dropped off the jack. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'll be all right.
That's Steve Meal here in the Piedmont pit.
Jeff Bodine continues to lead. You know, you can come to a racetrack and lay miles and miles of cable and get everything just right, but when it rains, it really causes some headaches for us. Perhaps you're not getting the best video or audio on this Sunday evening now in your respective hometowns while you're watching the race. We apologize. It's simply the fact that a tremendous amount of water has fallen here and has gotten into our cables and is really messing things up. The battle is for second position, Morgan Shepherd and Tim Richmond.
And it's become a dandy one. Shepherd holds the spot as they go to turn 3, but Richmond began to make a move on him there in turns 1 and 2. Now Richmond goes down, takes a look, backs up back into the group. Now he's trying to get a run on Morgan Shepherd as they hurtle down across the start-finish line. Won't do it, though.
This is more than a 2-car race. It's a 4-car battle for position. Shepherd, Richmond right behind Dale Earnhardt Earnhardt, and then Neil Bonnet. And Richmond's car a little bit sideways there in the second turn. We even saw some tire smoke come off of it, but Tim handled it nicely. He did drop back, though, about a car length, and now is being challenged by Dale Earnhardt as they are at the end of the backstretch. But Richmond holds on to that third spot. Now Earnhardt again to the low side of the racetrack. He passes Tim Richmond and goes to third.
Classic move by Dale Earnhardt. Saw a miscue, saw an opportunity, and just stabbed at it. Took the spot away.
Morgan Shepherd has been able, however, to hold on to that second position in a pretty impressive drive by Morgan, who next year goes to the Kenny Bernstein-owned team, which is now, of course, the car being driven by Joe Ruttman, who retired from this race very early in the contest.
So Richmond has been relegated back to the fourth position. In fifth spot is Bonnet. Now, Bonnet looked to the inside, trying to take a move, but Morgan Shepherd is holding all of these guys in bay right now. And Shepherd has got a little something to prove, not only for himself, but his retiring car owner, Jack Beatty. Now Bonnet looks to the inside of Richmond for the spot, and that's for fourth.
Pulls alongside, at least gets about half the car alongside Tim Richmond, but then backs out of the accelerator and sets the car into third place. Terry Labonte into the pit area once again as they continue to work on that car and try to get it back in good running order. Terry Labonte was running as high as fourth position when the car fell off the jack on a pit stop, and they've had trouble with it ever since.
Well, you heard Steve say that they think they may have bent a brake caliper, and if that's the case, the car will vibrate terrifically, even when you're not on the brakes, because it may be rubbing up against the rotor. And boy, that's tough here.
Labonte goes back into the race as we continue to watch 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now third and fourth position in Earnhardt and Tim Richmond. Now Neil Bonnet once again dives that car low, but is unable to pass. Here is Richmond looking to the inside of Dale Earnhardt, but he also backs out of it as they go high on the racetrack to lap number 64, Connie Saylor.
Some nice early power, too, from Neil Bonnet. Bonnet has not been really that great of a ride in 1987. He's yet to be victorious. That's so unusual for any Junior Johnson ride. And Bonnet's got a lot to prove. He's going to the Raymock team next year, but it would be nice, as we talked about early on in the race, for him to be able to score a victory, gain entrance into the Winston, and possibly be able to bring to the Raymock team an invitation to the Winner's Circle program that's worth about $180,000 to $200,000 in 1987.
Neil Bonnet once again watches Tim Richmond's car slide just a little bit sideways in the second corner, but Bonnet thinking better of making a move. I think that Morgan Shepherd has to be given a lot of credit here. He qualified in 20th position. He was the slowest qualifier on the first day of time trials at 153.3, about 5 miles an hour off the pole pace, I should say. But he has held on to that second spot, and now Tim Richmond moves inside at the end of the front stretch to pass Dale Earnhardt, and Richmond momentarily moves to third. Bonnet also challenging Dale Earnhardt.
Now, Bonnet looked to the inside of Dale Earnhardt, but when Richmond got out of the throttle, just burped it for a second, Earnhardt had to back out. Everybody was crossed up. Not enough that you could see it on your screen, but enough that they all just played it a little cautiously because there's so much racing left. And everybody said, well, let's settle down and we'll go for it the next lap.
While all of this is going on, Jeff Bodine continues to hang on to the lead, and in fact, he continues to stretch out the advantage. There he is, lapping Jonathan Edwards in car number 92. Bodine, one of 3 drivers here this afternoon who can win, if he should win this race, a bonus of $100,000. He was the winner of the Daytona 500, and you have to win 2 to pick up that $100,000.
Meanwhile, back for the battle in second position. Morgan Shepherd runs in second. Third spot still belongs to the teammate of your leader, Bodine. That, of course, Richmond. Earnhardt has been moved to fourth spot. If they go down into turn 1, and in fifth is Neil Bonnet. Cale Yarborough is in sixth. And it looks as if moving into seventh, yes, it's Buddy Baker, and in eighth spot is Bill Elliott.
By the way, it's a 6.5-second advantage for Jeff Bodine over Morgan Shepherd. There is Earnhardt and the number 12 car of Neil Bonnet. Now behind Bonnet.
That's 6th, 7th, and 8th. Yarborough in 6th, 7th to Baker, and in 8th is Bill Elliott. And they're having one wingding battle of their own.
Cale Yarborough in the Hardee's car, number 28. There is Buddy Baker, who ran as high as third, but has not been quite as fast on the racetrack since we had the rain delay. He was in the very early going of this race. He's driving the Crisco-sponsored Oldsmobile car number 88. Bill Elliott is there in car number 9. They have to maneuver themselves through the slower traffic, going high to pass some cars and moving to the inside, in this case, to pass D.K. Ulrich in the number 6 car.
Are you an aspiring race driver? Do you want to someday drive at Darlington? Well, study these cars. Morgan Shepherd, Tim Richmond, Dale Earnhardt, Neil Bonnet, Cale Yarborough. Watch the way they approach this racetrack and the way they work the race traffic. They go to the high side, just weave alongside a slower car. They never want to use too much energy. They don't want to force the car around. They want to just keep it as smooth as possible, because that's why they call Darlington the Lady in Black. If you don't, it'll bite you.
Almost a 9-second lead now for Geoff Bodine, but look at this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 running right together on the racetrack. This looks like almost a Talladega type race. Well, they're hooked into each other and really going at it.
Only difference is about 35 to 40 miles per hour. But the concentration, I would dare say, is higher here because of the mental fatigue that you've got to go through. At any second, you can lose a position. Baker looks to the inside of Yarborough, and as does Elliott. Baker's hung out there. He's going to have to go for the spot. He does. He's got it.
Baker moves into 6th position. Cale is back to 7th, and Bill Elliott runs in 8th spot. We have completed 122 laps of the Southern 500 at Darlington on this very overcast and what has been a very rainy weekend. The Grand National race yesterday here at Darlington, they completed 3 laps shy of halfway and had to stop it. And it's supposed to be finished tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock if we can get this race in. Terry Labonte comes back into the pits as we watch Earnhardt and Bonnet on the racetrack. Now Elliott and Cale Yarborough are into a tussle as Bill Elliott moves to the inside in the backstretch, and Bill Elliott moves to 7th, relegating Cale back to 8th.
Again, a little jostling for positions. They're just trying to check things out. It's still a long way to go in the race, and you can be sure that the crews are keeping each of these drivers appraised as to what the weather conditions are, too. Not only on the track, but what the skies look like. In answer to your question earlier, right now they're racing like this is going to go 500 miles.
Morgan Shepherd is continuing to hold on to that 2nd place. Here is the leader, Geoff Bodine, crossing the stripe, completing lap number 125. Bodine finished 3rd last weekend at Bristol. His wins this year have come at Daytona, of course, and on the high banks of Dover Speedway.
You know, Bodine had a real thrill this past week. He got a chance to go down to the United States Air Force 48th Fighter Interceptor Squadron, and they put Bodine through the paces in an F-15 Eagle jet fighter, and it gave him a totally new definition of speed and performance. But do you know who gave him a ride in it? Mike Alexander, a Grand National driver's brother, who was one of the lieutenants in the Air Force, gave him a ride in that F-15.
And there you had an idea of the interval between 1st and 2nd. As I said, it's about a 8-second lead right now for Geoff Bodine. This 2nd place scramble between Morgan Shepherd and Tim Richmond. Shepherd pretty impressive, though, in that number 47 Race Hill Farms Buick, being able to hold off Richmond, Earnhardt, and the others and keep that 2nd position.
Morgan Shepherd's a winner on the Winston Cup Tour. He won in Atlanta, and in his rookie year of Winston Cup competition, he scored a short track victory for Cliff Stewart when he drove the famous number 5, kind of ironic, huh, at Martinsville Speedway. So Shepherd knows his way to victory lane, and he's got one heck of a crew chief, Jake Elder, who was his crew chief on the 47 car today.
We'll get a clocking here on exactly the interval between 1st and 2nd, as Geoff Bodine now is running right behind the number 75 car of Jim Sauter, and Sauter is running in 19th spot. Here they come, and it's about a 6.5-second lead for Geoff Bodine over Morgan Shepherd and the others.
6.5 seconds at Darlington is not a whole lot, especially at this point in the race. We're coming up to, what, a little over 170 miles of competition. There's a lot left.
This race is going to go well into the evening if we don't get any more precipitation. We'll do it one more time here and see if it's a larger interval or a smaller interval for Jeff Bodine over the group of, and it's a 5.6, so almost a second shaved off there in just that one lap.
Well, there's a reason for that, too. The race traffic has begun to thin out directly in front of Bodine and in front of the rest of the pack. Bodine now is kind of like blazing his way through. He's coming up on heavy race traffic, so he will have to be a little slower and a little more cautious than the rest of the field, namely Shepard and Richmond and Earnhardt.
Jeff Bodine leads the Southern 500 at Darlington International Raceway. We'll be back in just a moment with more coverage. The Southern 500 at Darlington is being brought to you by Dodge, a performance revolution and American revolution. And by Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name. We're glad you could join us on this Sunday afternoon at Darlington International Raceway for the Southern 500. It's being led right now by Jeff Bodine. The story has been weather here all weekend. We had a 2-hour and 13-minute rain delay. With Jeff Bodine leading, the real battle is for second position. It involves several cars, including Morgan Shepard, Tim Richmond, Dale Earnhardt, and others as they come down the straightaway and jockey for position.
And a pass was made for fifth spot. Moving into fifth position was $1 Million Bill. Bill Elliott is moving now. He's moved up to fifth, and he's beginning to challenge Dale Earnhardt for the fourth spot. Working the race traffic, going by Eddie Bierswale. Elliott just didn't have enough time.
There is Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhardt running right together on the racetrack, and Neil Bonnet is also in this battle. Let's go down to Dick Berggren for a report from the pit area.
Well, it may appear as if everything is just fine with Jeff Bodine's car, but the crew beside me here has been busily preparing the tires for the next pit stop. Crew Chief Gary Nelson says the car sure is pretty good, but it can be a little bit better. The car's a little bit loose, so they're going to change the rear tire stagger. They're going to change the handling on the car. About that much, said Nelson, on the next pit stop. Bodine can get faster yet.
Well, Jeff Bodine is having no problems at the moment keeping that lead, but look at this. It is still a tremendous race involving Bonnet, Earnhardt, and Bill Elliott.
And that is the battle for the fourth spot. Elliott has taken over fourth, relegating Earnhardt back to fifth, and actually, Bonnet is in the sixth position. And look who's beginning to show in the picture as well, the 88 Crisco car of Buddy Baker. He's in the seventh position.
Oh, Bonnet almost sideways there. We've seen that, though, before, and each time Neil has been able to maintain control of that car. He moves alongside Earnhardt. At the end of the straightaway, he picks up the position.
What a way to capitalize on misfortune and turn it around 180 degrees and make it good fortune. That's what Neil Bonnet did, and he gained a spot in the process.
There is Cale Yarborough, who's running behind Buddy Baker and Earnhardt and Bonnet. Now Earnhardt looking to the inside of Bonnet. Oh, the cars, it appears they touch.
They bang. There's no question about it. They really put the chrome horn to each other.
This is reminiscent more of the Bristol short track last weekend in the Super Speedway at Darlington. There's been a lot of body contact out there on the racetrack.
Now,
let's take a look at it.
Watch this. Out of the throttle just a little bit. Earnhardt looks to the inside. Boom! A little bit of a drop kick. Intentional? Probably not. Just part of the racing action here. And look at Baker. Baker just had to gather it all in because he drove right up on them.
It is still Jeff Bodine controlling this race and Morgan Shepard in second. There is Bodine as he continues to just run flawlessly around this 1.3-mile racetrack. With 140 laps completed, we'll be at the halfway point in 44 more laps.
But What was going on with Gary Nelson and the Levi Garrett crew on pit road that Dick Berger recorded is indicative of their feelings about how the race is going. They're not satisfied with the way the car is. They feel that there's plenty of racing left, and boy, especially at Darlington, the setup can go away in a heartbeat. They want to be prepared to make the adjustments on the next pit stop. Now, for Jake Elder and the crew in the second-place machine of Morgan Shepherd, they've got to sit down and look in their playbook and say, how can we gain the advantage? But they also have to figure out what's going to happen to the racetrack. They can't try and make an advantage now for the situation. They've got to anticipate what it's going to be like maybe 30 or 40 laps from now and try and give that setup to Morgan Shepherd on the next pit stop.
Tim Richmond speaking up on Morgan Shepherd, and it appeared as if he was going to make a run for that second spot. Now he pulls alongside once again, but drops back in line as Bill Elliott is beginning to catch now Tim Richmond for third.
Kind of looks like these guys are catching their Southern 500 stride, so to speak. They're beginning to bounce around a little bit, try each other out just a little bit more. Look at that. Change in position. Second spot now goes to Tim Richmond. Morgan Shepherd back to third.
And Morgan Shepherd had held on to that second spot for many, many laps, but finally relinquishes it to Tim Richmond. The lead, by the way, for Jeff Bodine has moved up to 7.8 seconds. While these guys have been battling for that second spot, Bodine has just continued to motor away. Now it appears as if Bill Elliott may be ready to make a move on Morgan Shepherd for that third position. Bill begins to close in on the Race Hill Farms Buick and assess his chances of making the pass here.
Remember, Dan Elliott told us on pit road that the car was comfortable. Nobody wants to hear that about an Elliott car. If Bill says that it's comfortable, he's going to be awesome all afternoon.
Bill Elliott, the winner of $1 million here last year, but he's not eligible for that this year. While we watch our 28:58 update, let's go down to the pit area once again.
Well, if you've ever driven a car down the highway and sort of heard a thump, thump, thump and felt a little bump, bump and wondered what it was and felt a little anxious and a little nervous, imagine what it would be like to do it at 150 miles an hour. This is the left front wheel that they just took off Terry Labonte's car, and you can see marks on that left front wheel. Those marks were caused by the brake caliper actually contacting the wheel. That's what Labonte felt. Imagine feeling a thump, thump that you couldn't identify. You'd had several good mechanics look at it 3 or 4 times. They couldn't find it, and you're out there at 150 miles an hour, not sure where all this noise is coming from. Boy, I'll tell you, it must have been quite a ride for Labonte. Problem's fixed now, though.
So that is the explanation of Terry Labonte's problem. He has been in and out of the pits all afternoon. We continue to watch the second, third, and fourth place scramble.
And it's beginning to heat up. Morgan Shepherd, feeling the hot breath of Bill Elliott, has picked up the pace just a bit, and they've closed on Tim Richmond. It's a trifecta for second spot. Now Richmond maybe has 3 car lengths over Shepherd in third, and then maybe 1 car length between Shepherd and fourth position held by Elliott.
Elliott right behind Morgan Shepherd coming off of the fourth corner. But Elliott content for the time being to sit right where he is and watch the action in front of him. Elliott has looked strong all race long after having started from 14th position. He has been very competitive, and as you can see, he is now in 4th place. Laps completed. Elliott again charging up on the rear bumper of that car. Now moving to the inside. They go 3 wide down the straightaway here. But Elliott still cannot pick up the position. They move to the inside and outside of Rusty Wallace to pass him. And Rusty's shock absorber problems are continuing for him in that Aluguard car. He was another very optimistic race driver coming into this event, but things can go wrong, and it's been a simple matter of a shock absorber that has made Rusty Wallace uncompetitive this afternoon.
There's Tim Richmond behind the in-car camera. Richmond, who is being posted in the second position. So that means that Wilson is one of the lap cars that Richmond has to successfully negotiate his way around. And let's see what position he takes. Boy, you can see just how loose Richmond's car was. Now, whether that was loose or tight, you can't tell from that position, but he gets by.
Wilson Wilson moving to the inside of the racetrack to allow this group of cars to pass in second, third, and fourth position. Now DK Ulrich also moving low on the racetrack to allow the faster cars to pass. Rick Wilson in car number 4. There he is, running in 14th position. He is a lap down to the leaders, but still out there and moving at pretty good speed in that Oldsmobile.
And Bob, by our calculations, in about another 10 to 15 laps, we should begin to see some of the front runners presenting themselves on pit road, which could be the first green flag stop of the race. Bodine has gone by Dave Marcus to put another lap in the record books. That'll be lap 152. Now, most of them have pitted on lap 90, and it's getting tight now. Now, look at this battle for that third position. They've gotten by Richmond, and so now, whoa, real close. Shepard has taken over second spot.
Shepard has moved into second position, but Tim tried to take it back there at the end of the straightaway. Couldn't get the job done, so it's second, third, and fourth once again, battling for this spot. Here is Tim Richmond moving to the inside of Shepard once again and taking the spot. So Richmond now back to second, or is he? Shepard.
This is a battle to the stripe, Bob. The caution has been displayed for Rusty Wallace. There you see it. They're going for the front position. Richmond is going to take it at the stripe.
So Richmond will be second on the restart, and Morgan Shepard third. Rusty Wallace has crashed in the backstretch.
Let's take a look from the other in-car camera exactly what the crash looked like.
By the way, you can see Rusty's moving around in there. He's okay. But
now watch
here's how it was from the in-car camera of Rick Wilson.
You're looking at it from behind Rick Wilson's car. Wallace loses it coming out of turn 3. Just a slow, easy slide, and then ping! A little puff of smoke, and he hits the retaining barrier.
Rusty Wallace sits helplessly against the inside wall. He takes off the helmet, and it appears as if he's going to be calling it a day. Now here are the leader pit stops. Bodine is in. They go to work on the right side of the car.
And he's showing some damage. The leader's showing some damage on the right rear quarter panel as they go to work there. Morgan Shepard, led by Jake Elder, pit crew. They're making some changes. Now they're going to change 4 tires. Richmond is going to do likewise. The crew comes around. They've completed their work on the right side. They're removing the left side tires. Let's go down to Dick Bergeron, who's on pit road.
Well, I'll tell you, Richmond's pit is certainly an animated place. They've changed 2 tires on the car. And Richmond the whole time was barking at his crew. Come on, guys, hurry up. It's great. He wants to get back out there and get going.
So Morgan Shepard moves back out onto the racetrack, as does Bill Elliott, Morgan Shepard, Cale Yarborough, and others. Darrell Waltrip has not yet left the pit area. Now there he goes. They were jacking some weight, weren't they?
Making some major chassis modifications on that car.
So Jeff Bodine, I believe, is going to hold on to the lead here as he was in and out of the pits very quickly. 155 laps completed in the Southern 500. We are in our 6th caution period of the afternoon, and we'll be back right after this. Time, the final round. We will be going to that live coverage of our golf tournament this afternoon at 5:30. We'll break away from the Southern 500. However, we will be back with occasional updates, and we will have the finish for you live. At the moment, there are the top 5. It's Bodine, Richmond, Earnhardt, Bonnet, and Elliott with 155 out of 367 laps completed. There are the second 5. Rudd, Shepard, Waltrip, Baker, and Bobby Hillin Jr.
There's how quick you can lose a front-running position and be relegated back to the second 5. Morgan Shepard and Darrell Waltrip, both of them running quite well, but made long pit stops to make chassis adjustments. The pace car has positioned its light in the off position. The field is rumbling into turn 3, and Bob, we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing with 156 laps in the record books.
Still not to the halfway point. That will be lap 184. Rick Wilson is having trouble with that number 4 Kodak car. He was in for a very long pit stop, but now is back out there, and he himself is getting ready for the restart.
Looks like the Long Island Expressway waiting to go through the toll booth there. As he begins to build the revs up, you see the tachometer go up and shift through the gear. We're back racing again.
Thundering herd down the main straightaway, receiving the green flag. Benny Parsons' car is faltering here at the start. He's dropping low on the racetrack. Meanwhile, some body contact contact between Dave Marcus and Tim Richmond. They're in turn number 2. Richmond set sail for his teammate, the leader, Jeff Bodine.
Bodine just shot himself out of a cannon. He's got a sizable advantage over Richmond. But at the far end of the screen, there's Dale Earnhardt. He's just reeling in Tim Richmond. There's where the battle's going to be for second spot shortly.
Dale Earnhardt moving up quickly on second place, Tim Richmond. The field comes out of turn number 4, coming down the main straightaway once again. There's the interval between first and second position, Bodine and Richmond, and the narrowing margin between second and third as Earnhardt moves in on Tim Richmond. Benny Parsons' car just would not go on that restart. He dropped low on the racetrack and has fallen back considerably.
Earnhardt and Richmond, neighbors, friends, they talk a lot about racing. They have a style that's very similar. Both of them would like to win the Southern 500, as would this gentleman, Jeff Bodine. Bodine, I think, more than anyone, is really super motivated for this win. But you can't count out Morgan Shepherd and Darrell Waltrip either. Now, they had that low pit stop. They're running back in the second 10, as we say, being shown in 7th and 8th positions right now. But they've made some chassis modifications, and right now they're trying to test it out to see if they're going to work to their advantage or not. Waltrip looked to the high side of Shepherd and just did a whoop-de-doo scoop down low, but couldn't get by him.
We gave you the top 10 just a moment ago. Also on the lead lap, Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough. Now a lap down in 13th position unofficially is Dave Marcus. In 14th, also a lap down, Kyle Petty. And in 15th is Ron Bouchard. There is the 7th and 8th place runners, Morgan Shepherd and Darrell Waltrip.
A Buick and a Chevrolet. Very different body configuration. One with a long, sloping rear window. That's a Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS of Darrell Waltrip. The other one with kind of a blunt nose, that being the Buick, that has a kind of a unique hood to it that wraps around almost down into the quarter panel. But Morgan Shepherd is holding Waltrip, and now Buddy Baker at bay for that battle for 7th spot.
Baker all of a sudden makes himself a factor in this race for 7th spot as Baker has closed in on the rear of the Darrell Waltrip car. They move into turn number 3, and we now have 3 cars nose to tail battling for that position. You can still see evidence of the rain that we had earlier today, as on the inside of the racetrack there are still some dark spots, and those spots are wet. But the groove itself, the racetrack that they used to run on, is completely dry. We have had no rain now in quite a while, and we are still optimistic that we will continue to get this race in. Buddy Baker making the move on Darrell Waltrip and moving into 8th position.
And he acquired it very nicely. Baker, a good call to him in the first half of this race. He's driven a heady race. He knows it's a long-distance event. Now he's set his sights on Morgan Shepherd. As they come down across the stripe, will he get him? They're side by side as they hit the stripe in that battle for the 7th spot. He's got it.
Buddy Baker goes into 7th, having picked off both Waltrip and Morgan Shepherd in that last lap. The number 88 car is the one that Al Unser was asked to drive at Watkins Glen, while Buddy Baker played crew chief that weekend. But now Buddy is back in the car for this Southern 500 and doing a fine job.
And Baker owns that car along with textile magnate Danny Schiff. And, you know, you ought to hear Baker tell the stories about being an owner and a driver. He says, what can you do? If it's an owner, you can't fire the driver.
Buddy Baker has won twice here on Darlington International Raceway, but he has never been a winner of the Southern 500. Both of his victories have come in the spring race. It's now called the Trans-South 500. Approaching Dave Marcus in car number 71. Marcus will move to the high side of the racetrack and allow Buddy to go low.
It's evident that Baker is getting hooked up now. He's beginning to turn the wick up. He is leaving Morgan Shepherd and Darrell Waltrip in his wake. He's put Dave Marcus between himself and those as he stays solidly in 7th spot. But he's got a long way to go before he comes up on Bill Elliott, who's posted in the 5th position.
And a guy that we have not talked about hardly at all today, but someone who is probably in this race in 6th position, the driver who's in the car right ahead of Buddy Baker, and that is Ricky Rudd.
Rudd driving for Bud Moore. They've renewed their contract for 1987. Rudd will stay at the wheel of the Motorcraft Ford. Now let's see if Baker can reel in Rudd as easily as he did Shepherd and Earnhardt. Not quite so easy in turn 1. Let's see what he does coming out of 2. Can he gain the momentum to try and pass that Ford Thunderbird? Rudd, as you said, kind of unnoticed, kind of quiet, but he's there solidly in 6th. And here's the battle for the front position. Tim Richmond takes it.
So for the first time in many, many laps, we have a change of leaders. Jeff Bodine had been dominating this race since the 96th lap. However, now Tim Richmond, the pole sitter in today's Southern 500, grabs the lead away from Jeff Bodine, and Tim Richmond now being shown as the leader on lap 167.
Boy, Richmond just pulled away to a good-sized advantage there once he negotiated the pass of Bodine. Bodine, there you see him in 2nd spot. Richmond, it looks like he may have cured some of his handling difficulties as well, Bob. It just doesn't seem to dart as much. It looks like the car is a little steadier in turns 3 and 4.
In the last 10 races, Tim Richmond has finished either 1st or 2nd in 8 of them. He had a very poor, so to speak, 15th place finish at Michigan, and he was 6th last weekend on the high banks of Bristol. Aside from that, in the last 10 races, Richmond either 1st or 2nd, and he obviously is happy with the way that this car and his crew chief Harry Hyde and the rest of the team has performed.
Don't count out Tim Richmond either, because in the points chase, because he's only about 175 points, actually 165 points behind your leader Dale Earnhardt. And Richmond has always said he wants to let his right foot do his talking as it applies to the Winston Cup Championship. But he's going to have to get his short track program better prepared than it was at Bristol if he hopes to win the Winston Cup.
Richmond leading Bodine, Earnhardt, then Neil Bonnet and Bill Elliott. Those are your top 5 at the moment. Right now, ESPN and NASCAR present a track fact.
Within earshot of the 4th turn of the Darlington Raceway and well within walking distance is an establishment that holds just about as much history. It's called the Raceway Grill, and it's where the Winston Cup elite meet to eat. It may not be the 21 Club or the Brown Derby, but it's close, and the food is good. Teams can take a quick time out from their chores and duck over here to fill their stomachs and be ready to get after it some more. Believe me, more race setups have been talked over this kind of a setup than in any garage area anywhere. Hey, wait a minute, what are you doing here?
The cheeseburgers are fantastic. Richmond, Bodine, Earnhardt, Bonnet, and Elliott, your top 5 with 169 laps complete at the Southern 500. We'll be back right after these messages.
Jeff could run the car faster than he is, but it's too early to take chances. We're going to ride for a while, make some adjustments, and hope to be up front at the end.
You're going to make some adjustments on the next pit stop, try to tighten the car up and go faster.
Well, yeah, we've adjusted it a little bit on each stop, and we've only come close to solving it. I think we're going to make a little bit bigger adjustment this stop and see if that'll do it.
And they've been looking at all the tire charges to make sure they get exactly the right setup. Meanwhile, up pit road, Barry Bunch has caught up with another competitor.
Then, Benny, it's been a rough afternoon for you. We've had to park the Copenhagen Oldsmobile. What put you out?
On the restart, the transmission went away, Jerry. I don't know what happened. I think that I probably knocked all the teeth off the main drive in the transmission. Probably what happened.
You had trouble earlier in the day. You got in a little bit of a fender duel with someone out there and had some brake problems.
Yep. When the 17 car wrecked on the back, I ran on the back of Bobby Allison. And when it had to mix up on the front straightaway, I hit the 23 car or something. I just couldn't stop.
We have a spin on the track, Benny.
And it is Jim Sauter in car number 75 who spins to the infield, the inside of the racetrack in turn 2.
It was a real lazy sort of spin. No real danger, no real harm done, no foul. But for Sauter, it's been a long afternoon in that Nationwide Pontiac. You know, this is only Sauter's 2nd race here. The last one was his first one in 1981, and he only ran 20 laps there. So he's paying his dues here at the Lady in Black.
Morgan Shepherd, the driver of that car on the short track, with Sauter here on the super speedways. We have not seen the yellow flag. And again, Sauter's car is well off of the racetrack. But now the yellow does come out. We apologize to Benny for having to bring a premature halt to that conversation with him. And we know that Benny will be back on the racetrack and hopefully in the broadcast booth with us here on ESPN.
Bob, a lot of viewers may wonder, why doesn't the caution come out real quick? Why don't they show the flag? When you've got a car positioned like that one where Jim Sauter was, as I said, no harm, no foul. They want to wait and see if the driver will be able to refire it first. If he can and then pull it back and drive away, we'll stay with green flag racing. When they let what seems to be a long time but was only about 8 to 10 seconds tick off, then they say, all right, let's put it out because it must be obvious that he can't get the car refired.
So the yellow has come out, and now we anticipate more pit stops.
And we heard Gary Nelson say that they were going to have to make a major adjustment this time to try and find the advantage that they need to go back to run to the front. We'll have to wait and see what Nelson and company do to Jeff Bodine, who's running in second position. And also, they don't cut out Harry Hyde with Tim Richmond. It looks like Hyde kept Richmond out there to lead a lap.
Well, why would that be? All of a sudden, he just pulled back onto the racetrack, Tim Richmond did, allowing everyone else, including his teammate Bodine, Earnhardt, Bonnet, Elliott, Baker, Waltrip, Yarborough, Allison, and others to come in.
Don't know. I mean, that really is a question because he's already led enough laps. He's got that to his advantage. So if he's looking for points, that wouldn't be. But the way that he was called out there, it looks to me almost as if Richmond was told on the radio, stay out, don't come in at the last minute.
Well, maybe it's because he's happy with the tires that he has on the car right now, and he feels that there will be an ample opportunity to come in for fuel, so he's just happy with the car and staying out there. Dale Earnhardt, by the way, had a very quick pit stop and is the first one out of the pits from this series of stops.
Now, here's a strategy move I would think on Harry Hyde's part. Fuel is not in precious commodity right now. They pitted just a while back, so they've got plenty of fuel. I think Harry Hyde may have gambled and said this way, look, the tires are good on the car, no sense coming in and topping off the fuel. If the rain comes, you've got the lead. They've all got to work their way back through the lap race traffic. But if it doesn't rain, if they do start to close in on him, the likes of Dale Earnhardt and Morgan Shepherd, well, he's still got everything that he needs to be able to go the distance until his next customary pit stop. But the question mark is they'll need another caution or they'll have to do it under green.
We will reach the halfway point in 3 more laps. And we'll be back with our coverage from Darlington after these messages. Just come back out at Darlington, and this completes lap number 183 now. One more lap will be halfway, and if we should have a major downpour, the race would be stopped, and it would be considered a complete race. Now, Tim Richmond did not pit on that his most recent caution. Why? Dick Berggren, tell us the reason.
Well, I asked Harry Hyde that, Bob, and he just pointed up at the sky, and as you can see, it's very dark. You guys can't see it because it's behind you, but dark clouds are coming in. It is starting to rain again. If he stayed in the lead, and if we do get a rain, and if it rains it out, he's the winner. Never count Harry Hyde out. He is one dominator.
Boy, and look at this battle, too. They're racing for things now. The 47 of Morgan Shepherd. Neil Bonnet running there, and Jeff Bodine. They've made their pit stop, and they are battling for 3rd, 4th, and 5th spots respectively. Bodine looking for the 4th spot. He goes to the inside of Bonnet. From the looks of things, Bob, everybody has seen the dark clouds except us because they're occluded from us, and I think they're all racing like now this thing's only going to go about halfway.
That is exactly my thought. It's obvious that Jeff Bodine is trying to get to the front very, very quickly. Now, Jeff Bodine to the inside of Morgan Shepherd. He passes Morgan, and now Jeff Bodine is in 3rd spot, setting sail for 2nd place, Dale Earnhardt. We do have a complete race. We are past the halfway point. So we will not be back tomorrow. The question is, can we complete the full distance here this afternoon? or will we have to stop it prematurely?
And with the foreboding clouds behind us, you're going to watch these drivers, and in their mind, they're going to drive it like there's only 50 or maybe 60 miles to go in the Southern 500. They've all turned the wick up. The lap speeds are much quicker now. They're trying to lay every card they have on the table. Nobody wants to have this one be a runaway for Tim Richmond, but maybe Harry Hyde gave Richmond the unfair advantage.
4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th here. It is Bonnet going to the inside, passing Morgan Shepherd, taking 4th. Here comes Ricky Rudd into 5th, Shepherd back to 6th, and that is Bill Elliott running in 8th position.
They've taken the gloves off now. They are scrapping for every spot they can get. Ricky Rudd, who really we neglected so often in the early going here, was poised in position, ready to get into the hunt. He's done that right now. He's being posted there in the 3rd spot. Right in front is Tim Richmond. In 2nd is Dale Earnhardt. Then Rudd comes into play.
Now Jeff Bodine passes Dale Earnhardt. There you can see them as they go into turn number 3. Bodine has moved into 2nd position. He is really charging toward the front, but he has that much interval right there. Richmond, now Bodine. There's that much separation between 1st and 2nd.
Now here's where the strategy can go awry. Let's take a look at Tim Richmond as he circuits the racetrack, especially in the corners, and compare. You see the way Bodine is running there. Very nice and easy. The car has its own head. He's running quite well. Now let's look at Richmond, see if there's any kind of a squirreliness to Richmond. Is the car pointing towards the wall? Well, not too bad. Let's see if we can see, because he may be using worn tires even though they're a good set. They could go away on him, and it could cost him the spot because Bodine's closing.
There is less than a second interval between 1st and 2nd as Bodine continues to move in on the leader, Tim Richmond. We go back and take a look at the pass.
Here is the pass for 2nd spot. Earnhardt is up on the high side. Bodine just rides the roller coaster down out of turn 2, and he's got the spot right there. Now, Bodine just gets enough. Now, isn't that... Whoa, look at that. Caution is out on the racetrack, and Bodine comes to the strike.
Oh, it was close, but Richmond beat him to the line. The caution is out. Why?
The report is that there is debris on the racetrack, some metal down here in one of the corners, and they're going to have to go back and try and pick it up. And you can see from the looks of that speed shot that there has been some precipitation, but not enough for that to be the reason for the yellow flag. But boy, that was a close call for Tim Richmond. And there is the debris out on the racetrack. Hard to believe that that could create a problem, but you wouldn't want to run over that right there down before the start-finish line and cut a tire, especially at this juncture. So the field is under caution. The safety car has pulled out directly in front of the field in turn 1. Tim Richmond stays out, as does Bodine and Earnhardt. Now it will be a game of monkey see, monkey do. Should one of the front runners elect to come onto pit road, then you'll have to make a decision in consultation with the crew chief and the driver as to whether you follow suit and come in or do like Tim Richmond did and elect to stay out. Now they pulled the metal off the racetrack. There you can see one of the NASCAR officials carrying it back over the wall. Just some sheet metal. Nothing too major, but you wouldn't want to run over it. We've got 191 laps completed, Bob, and this thing is official. And as we said, under green flag conditions, it looks like it could go just at any moment right down to the checkered flag the way these guys are racing.
Unfortunately, Mother Nature was just not cooperative with us here today, and it caused us to have about a 2-hour and 15-minute downtime, and we're going to have to break away now for coverage of the golf tournament in Memphis in just a few moments. But please be assured that we will be back to update you on what's going on here in Darlington, and certainly we'll have the finish of the race just as soon as it occurs. And it could occur quite soon because, as we have mentioned, the dark clouds are gathering in, and if we are going to continue the bad weather that we have had all weekend, it could rain at any moment. We're sorry, but the rain has just really caused this problem that we are going to experience here this afternoon. There's the top 5: Tim Richmond, Jeff Bodine, Earnhardt, Neil Bonnet, and Ricky Rudd, with 192 of 367 laps completed. And there are the second 5: Bill Elliott, Darrell Waltrip, Cale Yarborough, Buddy Baker, and Bobby Allison. Right now, we're going to switch you to Memphis, Tennessee for the golf tournament that's going on right there, but we will be back with updates here at Darlington. Not much has happened since we broke away for coverage of the golf tournament. Tim Richmond is still leading. Jeff Bodine is second and Dale Earnhardt third. As you can see, 197 of 367 laps completed. We are under caution because of a very minor spin down in turn number 3 by Rick Wilson, and there is also some rain falling. But at the moment, Richmond still leads. At the Southern 500 in Darlington, South Carolina, it is Tim Richmond, Buddy Baker, and Ricky Rudd running in the top 3 positions. We are under caution again because of an accident up in turn number 2 involving H.B. Bailey. Not a serious accident by any stretch of the imagination. H.B. just got the car a little too high on the racetrack and bumped the outside wall.
Yes, he did, but everything's okay for H.B. Bailey. He continued under his own way. But Tim Richmond and Buddy Baker, they did not pit during this caution period, and they've managed to work their way to the front of the pack, and we're right back into a hot Southern 500, Bob.
It's Morgan Shepherd running in 4th position right now. Darrell Waltrip is 5th. In 6th position is Bobby Hillen Jr. In 7th is Jeff Bodine. 8th is Dale Earnhardt. 9th is Bill Elliott. And 10th is the number 12 car of Neil Bonnet. That is the way they're running with 223 laps complete. The story of this race at the moment is Buddy Baker in the Southern 500. He has really closed in on the leader, Tim Richmond. He was within just a few car lengths of him. Now there is Morgan Shepherd, followed by Dale Earnhardt, 3rd and 4th. 5th is Jeff Bodine, and 6th is Darrell Waltrip. Tim Richmond continues to lead, but Baker is definitely closing with 239 laps complete. And the lead has changed. Dale Earnhardt has come like a shot from a cannon around Tim Richmond, and Earnhardt now leads this race. By the way, that was the first time that he had led today, just 2 laps ago when he took the lead. It is Buddy Baker running in 3rd position, and Jeff Bodine is 4th, but Earnhardt is the leader at the moment. In South Carolina, 271 laps have been completed. We are yellow because of debris on the backstretch. Pit stops are being made. All of the leaders came in for a stop. It's going to be Dale Earnhardt reassuming command of this race, with Tim Richmond running 2nd and Jeff Bodine running in 3rd position. There you can see 271 of 367 laps have been completed. Earnhardt comes in again, back to Memphis. 283 out of 367 completed. It is Dale Earnhardt leading the race. Jeff Bodine leading the race. It is Tim Richmond running 2nd. 3rd is Darrell Waltrip. 4th is Ricky Rudd. And 5th is Bill Elliott. And there is the 2nd and 3rd place. But Jeff Bodine at the moment. Bob Jenkins, Jack Arute, Dick Berggren, and Jerry Punch covering the Southern 500 at Darlington International Raceway for you. Jeff Bodine is the leader, but the man on the move is Dale Earnhardt. He is involved in a terrific battle right now for 2nd position with Tim Richmond. Everybody's going to have to make one more pit stop, and strategy in the pits could determine the outcome. He wants to get back out on that lead lap. He's going to challenge Bodine. No. Not enough. He's still 1 lap down. The Southern 500 at Darlington International Raceway, and we have a car that has apparently come in contact with the wall, and the yellow flag is out. Can Dale Earnhardt get his lap back? He's going to make a bid here as they come through turns 3 and 4. They are racing to the yellow flag. Here is Earnhardt going to the low side, but Bodine is trying to block him. Now Earnhardt has to go high on the racetrack, slowing his progress. Let's see if he does. They cross the stripe. No! Jeff Bodine holds off that challenge by Dale Earnhardt. That was not for the lead, remember, but it was a bid by Dale Earnhardt to get his lap back. He had to pit a few laps ago because of a bad tire on the front part of the car, and that put him a lap down. He simply could not make up the lap. The reason that we are yellow is because of a incident involving Phil Parsons. He has made contact with the wall once again, moves by the main straightaway here with some body damage showing. That's the reason for the yellow. We also have had rain here at Darlington in the last few minutes, and we welcome you to this update from our golf match.
Boy, what a heads-up move by Jeff Bodine. He knew that he wanted to keep Dale Earnhardt one lap down, and he covered the spot sufficiently, more than sufficiently, as they hurtled towards the start-finish line, knowing that the caution was out. Nothing that was out of the ordinary is what you do. When the leader is leading, it's his racetrack, and he can cover it. He did it nicely and with a lot of class, and I'm sure Dale Earnhardt would agree.
So Jeff Bodine is the leader here at the Southern 500. Tim Richmond second, Bill Elliott third, Ricky Rudd fourth, Dale Earnhardt fifth, Buddy Baker is sixth, Morgan Shepherd seventh, eighth is Bobby Allison, and ninth is Bobby Hillin Jr. Those cars on the lead lap, and in 10th position and lap down is Dale Earnhardt. Now here is Buddy Baker running sixth in for a pit stop. And he pulls back out onto the racetrack. 331 laps have been completed. Our big question at the moment, is it raining too hard to resume? Bill Elliott is the leader now, but he is about to lose the lead to Tim Richmond at the start-finish line. Richmond moves into the lead. Bill Elliott slid against the wall up in the second corner, last lap, and is off the pace. Jeff Bodine was leading the Southern 500 when he had to come in for a fuel stop. He completely ran out of fuel. That gave the lead to Bill Elliott, but he has slid against the wall in turn number 2 and has lost the lead. Here it is.
Here's how it happened. High, wide, and handsome, but too far into the wall. Elliott leading all by himself, sparks flying from beneath the car, and this set up that spectacular pass by Tim Richmond that you saw just moments ago. But Richmond was out of shape when he made the pass as well. Now watch Tim Richmond as he tries to negotiate around Bill Elliott. He's all crossed up, comes back down across the stripe. He's still got to get back in front of Bill Elliott. They touch.
Boy, they are just letting it all hang out in the closing laps of the 37th annual Southern 500. 5 laps to go, and Tim Richmond now is the leader. This will be 4 laps to go. Tim Richmond is the leader of this race. Bill Elliott hangs on to second. It's Bobby Allison in third, Morgan Shepherd in fourth, and Darrell Waltrip in fifth position. The other cars on the lead lap, Ricky Rudd, also Bobby Hillin Jr., Jeff Bodine, and Dale Earnhardt. Now Jeff Bodine passes the leader and gets his lap back.
Now Bodine, because he had to come in and take on that fuel, is not in the hunt for the lead. Unfortunate for Jeff Bodine, he gambled and lost, but at least he's at the tail end of the lead lap. But his teammate Tim Richmond is out front with just 3 laps to go. Elliott, wounded and badly wounded to say the least, is limping around in the second position. There's the battle for second. Bobby Allison's trying to snare the spot from Bill Elliott. Elliott has nothing to do with that. He is fighting back on the high side, and look at Earnhardt. Although he's a lap down, he's in the fracas.
Dale Earnhardt blistered a tire and had to come in. That's the reason he is a lap down. Now as Tim Richmond crosses the stripe, there will be just 2 more laps to go in the Southern 500. It's very dark here at Darlington. We are well past sunset, and with the heavy cloud cover, it's even more amazing that we can complete the entire distance of this race.
Don't give it to Tim Richmond yet. You saw how quick it could change when Bill Elliott was out front. This racetrack, that's why they called the track Too Tough to Tame, the Lady in Black. It can turn around and fight you at a moment's notice. Richmond knows that, and every time he comes down, he's going for the white flag, Bob.
1 more lap around this 1.366-mile track they call Too Tough to Tame, the Lady in Black, Darlington International Raceway. What a day it has been, with rain, with accidents, with Jeff Bodine running out of fuel, with Bill Elliott losing control and scraping the wall, giving up the lead to Tim Richmond, who is the pole sitter. Here comes Tim Richmond for the checkered flag in the Southern 500 off of turn number 4. Here he is. Tim Richmond wins the Southern 500, the 37th annual running of this race. Bill Elliott finishes in, Bobby Allison finishes second. Bill Elliott third. Morgan Shepherd fourth. There's the celebration of the Harry Hyde crew.
Tim Richmond's best finish in the Southern 500 was a second in 1984. He's bettered that this afternoon.
from the pole position. Let's go down to Jerry Punch, who's with Harry Hyde, the crew chief.
Well, jubilation here in the Richmond pits, and Harry, it's going to be a great victory. Congratulations for you.
Oh, the Southern 500 is a great victory, ain't it, to anybody, and we're real proud. And Tim was just a true champion. He drove like a champion all day, and we're so happy for Hendricks Motorsports and Rick Hendricks and Folgers Coffee. I tell you what, this crew is never say die. They just keep on getting it, and Tim just gets in there and keeps pitching, and I don't know, we're just lucky to be associated with these people.
Well, I'll let you go on down to victory lane and congratulate your young driver. Congratulations again,
Thank you very much. This is one I've always wanted to win, and it's finally come true. I couldn't be happier.
Congratulations, Harry, from the booth and to Tim Richmond, the driver of this car. And this is going to close the point standings. Tim Richmond, going into this race, was in third in the point standings, and he comes away with most points here this afternoon. He's maneuvering that Folgers-sponsored Chevrolet into victory lane. Moving into the Southern 500 victory lane area is Tim Richmond.
Well, this one was worth the wait, Bob.
You can see how dark it is here at Darlington, but we are finally finished with this long, long race. There is Tim, who still has the helmet on. He's getting the steering wheel taken off. Still got to unbuckle and take off the helmet. But you can see the grin on his face after having won this event here today.
And getting the congratulations of his mom through the car there. They're solidly behind his efforts here. You know, this guy came from IndyCar racing after winning the Rookie of the Year in the Indianapolis 500, and he has found a home here in Winston Cup competition.
About to step out of the car. And here he is, Tim Richmond, the winner of the Southern 500. Here's Dick Bergeron.
Tim Richmond, they say new teams aren't supposed to do it, but here you are with your 5th win, the Southern 500.
Well, yeah, it looked like Bill was going to get it there, and he went into one a little too hard and hit the fence. And we just, we just held on. We tried to play it as smart as we could, and I think being, Harry kept telling me, take it easy. It's raining a little bit. Don't mess it up. And I was doing my best to catch Elliott, but had he not hit the wall, he'd have probably won. But
what happened? Why did he hit the wall? Could you tell, Tim?
Well, it was real slippery in that part of the track anyway. Earnhardt and I kept going in there all day. I never hit the back end of the car, but I probably should have, and he just went in there a little too hot, and I saw it, and he, punched the fence there, and it ruined his chances.
You were up and down in this race. There were times when you were led, and there were times when you were way in the back. What were your thoughts as the day went on? Were there disappointing moments, or did you always think that you were solid enough to have a shot at the end of the race?
Well, no, there were some times there that, I wasn't sure whether we were going to be able to pull it off or not. Jeff was real strong, and, Earnhardt, we knew he was going to be strong. We didn't see Darrell most of the day. But, Harry won it. We had the fuel to go to the end. They didn't pit there at the end. I don't think the 5 car did, and a few other ones, and it paid off. Strategy wins the race.
Harry Hyde, his crew chief, has just hugged Tim Richmond. This is one very happy duo for sure. Timmy, when he held you out at the point where a lot of guys came in, did you begin to doubt Harry at all? Did you think that was the right move?
No, I didn't doubt him at all. I was a little upset. I told him the car was so darn tight I couldn't drive it. And I asked him when we went back out, I said, did you take any wedge out of it? He said, no, we changed the stagger a little bit, and I was just trying my butt off just as hard as I could, and I kept about hitting that fence out there, and I was getting a little upset, but not bad. I was intense after going after the 9 car.
Well, they picked up some points on the current point leader, Dale Earnhardt.
Hi, Sandy and Ashland. I guess I had my sister in Ashland, Sandy Welch, and the Whales ribbon, all them guys in Florida.
They picked up some points in this event for sure, and Bobby Allison had a fine finish as well, and he's with Jerry Punch.
Well, a fine finish indeed for Bobby Allison, who's climbing out and getting some of the debris and dirt off of him that he's grinded in here for 6.5 hours. Bobby, a super run for you. You almost had one.
Well, we got close. We worked hard to get the car moved up to the front of the pack, and, we kept working. Bobby Hudson and the crew kept working, trying to get the chassis to stick, and they finally discovered something. Bobby finally discovered something late in the race that was helping, and so we saved it for the last pit stop and pulled it off, and it really helped us. Tim got by us, and you know, those other guys were ahead, but there was a little bad luck went on out there, and we weren't the recipients of it this time.
How about some of the wall tapping out there? I know you said you saw Jeff Bodine hit the wall.
Yeah, Jeff just got out of shape off of 4. You know, he just lost it and got in the wall, and it caused him to bust a tire, and it was unfortunate for him because he had to race 1. He was far enough ahead of everybody that there really was no problem.
Well, the 5-time Southern 500 champion Bobby Allison gets a cold drink. He finishes second here today.
And our winner's circle interview has been brought to you by Goodyear Eagles. You either have Goodyear Eagles or you need them. What a tremendous afternoon of racing we have seen here, with Tim Richmond finally emerging as the winner, Allison second, Bill Elliott third, Morgan Shepherd fourth, Darrell Waltrip fifth. Back in just a moment. One of the most exciting Winston Cup races ever, I think, Jack.
Bob, every time they turn a page for the Southern 500 record book, somebody pens in a new entry. Last year it was $1 Million Bill. This year, with everything that happened as we look at the top 10 finishers, with Richmond winning it and the way he won it, and the fact that he won it for Harry Hyde, the first time that Hyde's ever been victorious in all the years that he's been here. It just makes it spectacular. It's just really a great Southern 500.
Well, Tim Richmond gained 33 points on Dale Earnhardt in the battle for the Winston Cup. Tim Richmond still in third place, 132 points behind. Darrell Waltrip is 113 points behind Dale Earnhardt. Promotional fee has been paid for by Eastman Kodak Company. Eastman Kodak is the official film and photographic paper of